the original and best British championships for mini bikes. This is Cool FAB-Racing.
Hello, welcome to live coverage of round 4 of the 2019 Cool FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championships. My name is Dan Marr, alongside me this weekend Liam Hodgins. We've got plenty of action to come over the course of 3 fantastic races of action. Race 1s will be getting underway in just a few moments' time, but before all the qualifying and race action got underway, we sent Liam into the paddock, going to find out a bit of the gossip, a bit of the news, and there's a few interesting things we caught up with on Friday. Going to pass you over to Liam.
So we're with Dean Hitchcock, and he's the father of Ryan. Yeah, so he's looking after his son, and we've got the bikes behind him. So he's racing in the... What class is he racing in at the moment?
He's running Mini GP 50 and Mini GP 70.
Now, how do you feel that Ryan's doing this so far this season?
Yeah, I think he's having a good year so far. The 70's taken a little bit of time to get used to the extra power. Because even though they're identical bikes, they're different animals completely. But yeah, he seems to be getting on with it both quite well. So yeah, pleased.
How do you feel he's got? How much of a chance do you feel he's got coming in this weekend of picking up a win in the Mini GP 50s and of course making a big improvement in the 70s?
Yeah, I think he's got a good chance as long as the weather holds out like this. It'd be lovely. He led every race here last year on a 50. But unfortunately he probably didn't have the racecraft that he needed last year, so this year he's obviously improved a lot. So yeah, quite confident we take a race win on the 50 and hopefully might get one on the 70, you don't know.
That'd be amazing if he does. Now he's embroiled in the championship fight in the 50s, but what one are you more focusing on at the moment? The 50s, yeah. It's a good battle with Harrison and Kyle and Josh. Yeah, so yeah, it's the main important one. The 70s is his first year on it, so yeah, it's not the mega important one. So win it this year in the 50s and just a learning year in the 70s and win the 70s next year, is that it?
Possibly, yeah. We're not sure what we're going to do next year, whether we're moving on to a bigger bike or because of his age. We're not sure yet.
What's the chance of possibly moving into, I don't know, the British Talent Cup?
No, I don't think so. Ryan's only 12 in October, and I think it's too much of an ask to go from kart tracks to full-blown race circuits in this country on a Motor 3 bike. We want to try and do something in between if we can. He's got a 125 to take his signatures on for next year to learn the circuits. We're just looking at the moment now for trying to do a bike, you know, slightly less power, a little bit bigger than what he's used to. So yeah, we're looking at that at the moment and take it from there really, but come back and probably do British Talent Cup the year after.
That'll be brilliant. Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you very much, appreciate your time.
You're very welcome, thank you.
Bye-bye.
I think we've actually got Ryan. Ryan, over you come, buddy. I think your dad's answered most of the questions for you. Now, Ryan, just explain very quickly, what classes are you in this weekend?
Metric 50 and Metric 70.
Now, which one do you prefer riding the most?
Probably the Metric 50 because it's more fun to carry corner speed.
So you a bit of a sort of Jorge Lorenzo type rider, or do you prefer the style of Marc Marquez?
Marc Marquez.
Right, so you're in both classes, you're embroiled in the championship battle in the 50s. Which one are you concentrating on the most this year?
Probably the Metric 50.
And why are you concentrating on that one a little bit more compared to the 70s?
Because this is my first year on a 70.
So how are you feeling going into this weekend?
Quite nervous.
Why are you nervous?
Because this track, the long straight, is a bit too fast for my 50 because it's down on power.
And do you think you can maybe use the corner speed to use that to your advantage to negate the gap to the leaders through the fast stuff?
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, thanks very much for your time and best of luck this weekend.
No problem, thanks.
So, Johnny, what classes are you racing in?
Junior LC40 Elite and the Metric at 70.
And how do you feel like your season has gone so far in both classes?
In the Junior Elite, it's actually going quite well because I'm leading the championship. Me and Mason are having quite a few battles, and that's going quite fun. And in the 70s, I don't really know where I am in the 70s, but I think I'm doing quite well.
And which one of the two is your favourite classes?
Probably the 70s because there's more challenge and there's a bit more to learn in it.
And how are you feeling coming into this weekend here at Tattershall?
I feel quite confident on the mini. Not so much on the 70, but yeah.
Now, you mentioned earlier on that you're having a few battles with Mason. You've been having a few battles with him over the last couple of seasons. How much are you relishing the competition between you both?
When the helmets are on, we're like proper enemies, but when we take the helmets off, we're actually quite good buddies.
Best of pals then.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, buddy. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. So, Harrison, what class are you racing in?
The Mini GP50 and the Mini GP70.
And how do you feel like your season has gone so far in both classes?
In the 50s, I'm leading the championship at the moment. I've felt good at all the tracks so far, and coming into Tattershall is one of my favourite tracks, so I hope I can do well. And then on the Mini GP70, we've got some good finishes, but I hope we can get some better finishes here because it's one of my favourite tracks.
Right, so you're in both classes at the moment. You're leading the 50s. What class do you prefer the most?
Probably the 70, just because it's a little bit quicker.
And what class do you think you'll focus on the most? I know you're leading the 50s, but some of your focus maybe going towards the 70s?
Well, at the moment we're focusing on the 50s, but I start to focus on the 70s because it's a quicker bike, and yeah.
And how do you feel like you can do this weekend?
Well, hopefully get a podium on the 50 and hopefully top 5 on the 70.
Harrison, thanks very much for your time. Best of luck this weekend, alright?
Thank you.
My name's Evan Belford.
Evan, what class are you racing in?
The Mini GP70s.
So, how do you feel like your season has gone so far?
It's gone alright, to be honest. The first round broke my collarbone, but then I've made a good comeback and third in the championship at the minute.
What did you feel like after you broke your collarbone? Did you think your season was over?
No, not really. I thought I could still bring it back, but it's going to be difficult.
And how does the collarbone feeling right now?
It's feeling better than ever.
That's what I like to hear. So how are you feeling like you'll do coming into this weekend?
I think I'll do alright. I do pretty good on tight, twisty tracks, but I think I'll have some competition with James Cook and Ollie Walker.
Now, you say you'll have a lot of competition this weekend. How tough is the competition in the Mini GP70s this season?
It's very tough. It's just too tight.
Too tight. And do you think you can win this weekend?
I could have a good go.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Evan. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
Ollie, what class are you racing in?
Mini GP70.
And how do you feel like your season has gone so far?
Well, the first 2 rounds weren't the best, but the third at Clay Pigeon was brilliant. Yeah.
And why was it brilliant?
Because I qualified first, which amazed me. Then I got first in the race, and then I got third and third.
And how are you feeling coming into this weekend here at Tattershall?
I'm feeling confident. I've always been good here. I like it, and it's pretty good.
Is this your favourite track in the calendar?
One of, yeah.
And what's your other favourites?
Rowra and Lid.
That's absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. So, Ollie, what class are you riding in, buddy?
Rookies.
And how are you feeling going into this weekend?
Good.
And how do you feel that your season is going so far?
Good, but I don't know if I'm going to win it.
And why do you think you might not win it?
Because I'm only 15 points ahead in championship.
So you're still ahead in the championship. Do you feel like there's tracks coming up later on in the season that could play to your advantage?
Yeah.
And what tracks do you think they could be?
I don't know, because I like Rowra.
Rowra, I've heard, is a good track. Now, you're embroiled in a big class, and there's a lot of you fighting for the championship. Who do you feel like is your biggest rivals in the championship at the moment?
Probably Archie Gibbs and Blake Wilson.
Ollie, thank you very much for your time. Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.
These are impressive pieces of machinery. The Metro kit's here. Number 44. So, just look at them. You can't believe that these bikes would fit around a small go-karting circuit, but they do. These riders managed to push them to the absolute limit and get them around the track. Now, if you've never watched the Metrica 50s or the Metrica 70s or the Mini GP 70s and 50s as they're called, they are something to behold. The way the riders can just flick the bike from one end to the next, transfer the weight on their foot pegs, so they put their foot right down the foot peg, flick it from one side to the next, and the way the handlebars move as well is absolutely incredible. As you can see through the tyres, there's a lot of graining on them, which means they're pushing it so far over that they're actually graining away at the sidewalls there. Henry McCartney. So, what class are you racing in this weekend, Henry?
The AC40 Pros.
And how has your season gone so far?
It's gone alright, but you know, there are a few people at the front who've been in it 3 years, or there's a lot older ones at the front, so I'm trying to keep up with them.
And how do you feel like you're progressing this year so far?
Yeah, it feels really good, but most of the tracks are like really far away, so we might not get to some.
And how are you feeling going into this weekend?
Yeah, but it's alright, the track, and I feel confident.
Sullivan, what class are you racing in?
LC 50s and 70s.
And how do you feel like your season has gone so far in both the categories?
Well, I started off with 50s and then we switched to 70s. We're doing LC. I was third in the championship until I went out to Spain to ride in ESBK on an 85, but we come back here because it's so much money, it's too hard to do that, and we might do Moto 3 next year. But we're riding an 85 out there, but we're going to try and keep going out there as well as here.
Now, say you might ride Moto 3 next year, whereabouts might you ride Moto 3? Is it in Britain, over the CEV, or maybe try and push for the British Talent Cup?
Well, we're going to do a British Talent Cup, and we might try and do some Conti, like ride on my Conti, and just try and do this for track time, really.
So how are you feeling coming into this weekend?
I think there'll be quite good battles on everything, really. It's hard getting used to, from Catalonia to this circuit, so it's going to be hard, but I think I can manage.
So you just mentioned you race at Catalonia there, right? Yeah. So how does a proper GP circuit compare to a go-kart track you're riding here in the UK?
Well, you'd think that this is big, but actually the size of the pit lane and like triple the size of the track is what Catalonia's like. There's a few tight corners, but it's just you got to deal with what you got.
Sullivan, thanks very much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
So Peter, you're here with Emmanuel. He's obviously raced in a couple of categories. What categories is he racing in at the moment?
He's in the LC40 Elite on a liquid cooled mini moto, and he's also on the 70 GP bikes.
Now, how's he finding transition between both of them?
Well, he's been on the liquid cooled for a while, a couple of years now, and he loves that. I thought I'd got rid of the minis, but no, he wants to continue riding them, so we've carried on this season. And the transfer from the GP50 to the 70, he's still trying to get used to it. I think there's obviously a power change, and he's still trying to get used to that.
Now, how is Emmanuel feeling going into this weekend? How are you feeling about his chances this weekend?
I'm reasonably confident. He likes the track. It's all about qualifying here, though, isn't it? Because it's a tight track, so qualifying is everything, I think.
Yeah, as you say, it's a very tight track. It's very technical. Yeah. Now, before we came on here, you said you've got a bit of news for us. What is it?
Well, we're just relocating to Spain as a family. It's been a family decision. It's not really about the racing at all, actually. It's something that we've been talking about as a family for the last sort of 10 years on and off. And we've decided to make the move. And we're doing it halfway through the season simply because I want them to go into school in September with all the other kids that are joining the schools at the same time. So it's not uncomfortable. So we'll be moving out there in August.
Well, I hope it all goes well for you. Now, will you continue the racing over there in Spain?
We will work out what we're going to do, but at the moment we don't have any real idea. We've got some ideas of what's possible, but we're not making any decisions until we get there. We've got sort of 6-7 months gap before the next season will start, so we've got a lot of time to make our mind up.
So I take it this is your final race weekend?
It is, yeah. So hopefully, fingers crossed, the weather's good, and he has a good weekend. I hope so.
Fingers crossed it all goes well for you and you enjoy your final race weekend here at Cool Fab. Thank you very much. So that's some amazing insights into the riders here at Tattershall for round number 4. Now, this is a 2019 Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship, and I'm going to hand you back over to Dan for some fantastic racing this weekend.
Cool Fab Racing, the official BSB partner series, and on the road to MotoGP.
Thank you, Liam. Hopefully we'll have more of the same with rounds to come, bringing you all of the insights from throughout the entire paddock here at the Cool FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championships. Thank you for joining us. My name's Dan Marr. Alongside me, Liam Hodgins, just in the paddock. He'll be back with us in just a few moments. Round 4 of the championship. We are at Tattershall in Lincolnshire. Warm-up is just coming to end, and we are live on social media, on the motorsport.radio website and on Cool Fab Racing website as well. Please do join us at M-Sport Radio, on Twitter at Cool Fab Racing or Motorsport Radio. Look for those on your favourite social media platforms. You'll be able to have a look, go and share the love, let the whole world know who you're supporting this weekend, how much you're enjoying the action. We've had the first set of races, that was yesterday in the afternoon. We'll go to the racing highlights now. We're starting with the Mini GP 50s. That was a great race. Extreme 200s therefore the second race. A good opening start by everyone through cleanly. Brad Ray, BSB race rider, was in this race and will be racing with us hopefully again both races today. But as they started making their way round the first few corners, very tight, some great battles. Will Howarth being overtaken by a couple of riders. Really on the attacking verve yesterday was Will. Had some great races in some of the other categories, but Brad Ray, with his distinct slump down of his bike, he doesn't seem to move, he just throws his knees about, but manages to have some great scraps. Also the likes of Harvey Claridge in that race, Richard Stalin Cup rider, going up the inside of the number 76 of Jamie King, Cool Fab Racing regular, as they make their way through the final elements of the race. But Richard Holmes-Williams had a dominant performance coming over the line to take the victory. Richard Holmes-Williams, though, didn't have to battle the way that a few of the riders were. Such tight moves going into turn 1. The likes of Matt Cook racing with us in this weekend. So thank you for joining us. This is live coverage of round 4 of the championship. It's Liam Hodgins alongside me, Dan Marr. Liam, well, that was a great insight into the paddock as to what's going on. Of course, the likes of Emmanuel Brinton moving over to Spain. It'd be interesting to see whether he does come back for the racing or not, but he's been a real regular and popular figure in the paddock for the last few years.
He absolutely has, and I've been looking through some of the results over the last few years. I've not been here, but he's been a lap record holder at a number of circuits, including this one in one of the other categories. And it's such a shame to lose such a bright young talent like that from this paddock, because he is moving over to Spain. The family's going over there, so maybe if he doesn't race, come back over here, fingers crossed that they can find some racing over in Spain, because we know how big the racing culture is over there.
Well, there's plenty of action still to come, plenty of great riders in our championships. We are the official partner series to the Bennett British Superbike Championship and on the road to MotoGP, so many great affiliations for our riders to go on, really develop their national and international careers over the course of the next few seasons. But it wasn't just those two races we had 9 races yesterday, including the Mini F1 sidecars. Mick Williams, as always, started out well, was on pole, got away cleanly for the first few laps. Note I say the first few laps. A great battle was emerging between the number 2 of Jack Waters and Mick Lee aboard the number 44 machine. They got extremely close, coming down the back straight into turn number 1. Had half a mind to go up the inside. Such better on the brakes, so much better on the brakes was the number 44 rider. The number 2 defending very well indeed. But there was a few touches between the pair of them. Coming into the hairpins once or twice, put the number 44 wide. That could have put paid to the effort for second place. But then it changed all dramatically, coming through the final few corners halfway through this race, and the unthinkable happened. There was a problem for the number 26 of Mick Williams, the race leader, into retirement. A big shame for Mick Williams and passenger. They will be back out later on today to get some more points on. Russ Morgan, unfortunately, having a few problems with his machine. Great to have him back in the paddock. But then it became the battle for the lead between the number 2 and the number 44. They were fighting extremely hard over the final few laps. Got very close. They touched a couple of times. Then around the outside for the race win. They were side by side. Contact between the pair of them. The number 44 into the tyres, out of the race. And a shame A bit of a shame, really, to end the race in that way, but it was such close racing. It's fantastic to have that kind of energy and that passion from the riders with these self-built machines.
It absolutely is. Now, the sidecars have given us one of the best races of the weekend so far. A great battle for the lead, embroiled in dramatic thriller scenes, and, well, it all came down to the fact that Mick Williams, our championship leader and runaway race winner so far this year, retired from the race, and it was a big crash between the two as they entered the hairpin for the final time. And Jack Walters picked up his second win of the season, his first since race number 1 back at Clandau.
And Paul Quarters Jr. scoring second place, so it was an all quarters 1-2 on the podium, so fantastic result for the family there. AC40 Rookies was the 4th race of the day, and as always, some great racing up and down the field for these young riders. Their first step into motorcycle racing. A little bit of contact between a few riders side by side into turn number 1. Making some great moves. The likes of Archie Gibbs, we had Samuel Munson and Henry McCartney. They were fighting tooth and nail in this championship last year. Many of these young riders we will expect to see out there in seasons gone by. But coming out of the final few corners, it was a great race battle. But that was the AC40 Rookies, and we've got plenty more action still to come today, including the first race of today. This will be the Mini GP50s, their second race of the weekend, the first race of Sunday afternoon. So thank you for joining us. This is live coverage of round 4 of the 2019 Cool FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championships. And as they make their way up towards the grid for the first time, this will be gridding up, getting ready for the green flag lap. It's quite a strong entry in this category. The Mini GP50s and the Mini GP70s both enjoying some good grids over the last few race meetings. These what many riders you may have heard in Liam's grades package at the start of the programme, talking about Metrokits. That's actually the machine that they ride. Mini GP50 and 70s just refers to the classes that they run in these particular race organisations. But just a reminder then, before we get onto the green flag lap, it will be the Mini GP50s as your first race of the day. The Extreme 200s and the Mini F1 sidecars will follow as the next 2 races. The AC40 Rookies will then be followed by the Mini GP70s, the AC40 Pros, the Pick Bike 140 and Moto teams, followed by the Junior LC40 Elites and the Senior Mini Motos. That will bring us up to lunch at around 1 o'clock. We are running a little bit behind at the moment, but thanks to a great effort from the marshals and the medical team and everyone else, and a big thank you to all of them, of course, that we will be running hopefully to time by the time we get to that point. But they head out onto the green flag lap. We've got one rider who is struggling to get away off the grid, but they do get onto it now. But it's Liam Hodgins with the grid.
Yes, thanks very much, Dan. So in pole position, same as yesterday, it's going to be the number 25 of Kyle Payne, ahead of yesterday's race 1 winner Josh Bannister. Harrison Crosby, your championship leader, will be lining up on row number 2 in 3rd spot. Ryan Hitchcock is alongside Crosby in 4th place, ahead of Lucas Brown in 5th spot on the grid. Sullivan Mounsey on the 144 bike is next up in 6th, ahead of Ronnie Harris in 7th position. Harrison McKee is next up in 8th position on the grid, ahead of Thomas Gomez. Ben Jolliffe is 10th on bike 125. That's running at top 10 at the moment. Ollie Horner is next up in 11th spot on the grid on bike number 70, ahead of Carter Brown in 12th spot. And then it's Taylor Stewart Campbell on bike number 97 in 13th. Holly Harris is next up in 14th. And running out your runners and riders for the start of your Mini GP50s. Race number 2 here from Tattershall is Warwick Brady in 15th place.
Well, a 15-strong entry. The riders make their way up to the grid then for the first race of Sunday, and they will look towards the green flag. We will not be starting with a red light for these races. It will be with the green flag. It goes up, but it's not when it goes up, it's when it goes down. The marshals, though, move to the side of the grid. The riders look ever determined towards turn number 1. The first race of Sunday morning is about to get underway. The green flag is up, and it's go, 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 down towards the first line, the first corner for the first time. A great start by Josh Bannister, getting into the lead almost immediately as they make their way through turns 2 and 3 now. Left and right, long, fast left and right sweeps. Very difficult to keep the momentum through. Many riders using this as an opportunity to make a few moves but Josh Bannister currently leads this race. Kyle Payne in second. A great start again from Sullivan Mounsley, up to third place at the moment, but scrapping further behind. We've got many other riders, including Ryan Hitchcock. He had a good start to the race yesterday. And over the line once again. We've got 11 laps to go, and it's still Josh Bannister ahead of the number 27-25, Kyle Payne.
Yeah, Sullivan Mounsley looks like he may have made a move ahead of Ryan Hitchcock into turn number 1 in the background there. Not quite, still Ryan Hitchcock just ahead of Sullivan Mounsley. Made a great move through the twisty section last lap round. But look at Harrison Crosby. He is continuing to close the gap to the 2 leaders in front of him. Fastest rider on track at the moment, it looks like. But then you've got Kyle Payne still all over the back of Josh Bannister. Josh Bannister taking very defensive lines into the hairpin, just like he did at Clay Pigeon a month ago. Now, across start finish line, Josh Bannister's very quick out of the turn at 9 hairpin and very fast through the quick turn 10, the final turn on this course. But Harrison Crosby's got a great run across the line over the bump, and can he go late on the brakes down turn number 1? Not quite yet. Josh Bannister's still very, very defensive, maybe a bit too defensive at this time in the race.
Well, you put it very well, because you get the feeling that he's being held up at the moment. He can't actually use the pace he's got because he's bottled up behind the rider in second place, trying to go side by side into turn number 4, around the outside into the left-handed hairpin. Not much chance there at the moment, but certainly signalling that he's eyeing up a move. But Ryan Hitchcock is now closing into the battle for the race lead. A 4-way scrap therefore for the race lead, heading up towards the final few corners. Once again, we've got 9 laps to go. Bannister still leads this race ahead of Kyle Payne, and Harrison Crosby, the man with the fastest lap, ahead of Ryan Hitchcock and Sullivan Mounsley. That's your top 5 as it stands at the moment. Lucas Brown is in 6th ahead of Ronnie Harris. Thomas Gomez, Carter Brown and Harrison McKee. That is your top 10. Ben Jolliffe ahead of Ollie Horner, Holly Harris, Taylor Stewart Campbell and Mike Brady. That's the top 15 runners and riders as it stands at the moment.
Now we had Kyle Payne taking a long look over his shoulder. That's made him drop back from Josh Bannister at the moment. Now this is a chance for Harrison Crosby to make his move. Well, it looks like Kyle Payne is ruffled a little bit. But look who's in 4th there. That's Ryan Hitchcock. He's closing up. Oh, a bit of a mistake there from Payne. Can he make up the inside? Crosby up the inside into 8. Not quite. Running over the curb. This is close stuff from 2nd and 3rd. But as they battle away, they're letting Bannister increase the gap at the front of the field. Now he's got a great run through the fast turn 10, down the home straight once again to start another lap. Late on the brakes, not quite. Josh Bannister still going defensive. He doesn't seem to know. He's got a bit of a gap back to Kyle Payne in 2nd. But as they battle away, we've still got Ryan Hitchcock on bike number 43 in 4th spot, continuing to close the gap. Now this 4 have pulled away from Sullivan Mounsley and of course Lucas Brown in 5th and 6th position. But after Kyle Payne has seemed to sort himself back out, he's catching back up with Josh Bannister once again.
And it's 4 for the race lead now. Ryan Hitchcock is on the back of this train, really, a 4-rider machine at the moment, heading in towards turn 9, the penultimate corner, the very tight right-handed hairpin. We've had a rider gone down at turn number 4. They're up and off the bike, walking back. They seem to be all right, so it's just a potential tumble for them. But as we make our way into turn 1, once again, under attack, number 2 in number 1 position. Josh Bannister leads this race at the halfway mark. Kyle Payne still 2nd. 3rd place for Harrison Crosby. Confirmation of the number 98, Thomas Gomez, out of this race. Was the yellow flag at turn number 4. And if there is a yellow flag at turn number 4, that's going to prohibit overtaking in that particular section, making sure the riders bunch up again. The top 3 just ahead of Ryan Hitchcock, a machine length or 2 behind, but that's just enough to take the pressure off. Josh Bannister using a multiplex of lines at this point, trying to defend every which way, really tight, really wide. None seem to work. He just doesn't quite have the pace to gap them, but is staying ahead. Over the line once again and down towards turn number 1, and now it's Kyle Payne having to defend from Harrison Crosby, still with the fastest lap. They're nowhere near their fastest times at the moment as they make their ways through turns 2 and 3, Liam.
Yes, Dan, and the laps have decreased ever so slightly. They're now into the 48, but it was Ryan Hitchcock there who's used up a lot of his tyre to catch the 3 leaders who was back into the 48.3s. So he's lost a little bit of time now with 4.5 laps remaining of this mini GP50 race. But as I say that, Ryan Hitchcock is closing the gap to leaders again, so it must have been a mistake on the previous lap, but he looks like he's pushing hard. Kyle Payne late on the brakes into turn 9, a little bit wide, just sizing up a gap to see if he can pass Josh Bannister as he head down the straight back into turn number 1. Late on the brakes once again. Can Crosby make a move up the inside? No, he can't, but look, Kyle Payne, he had to lift up a little bit. Round the outside goes Hitchcock. Crosby, sorry, not quite doing it just yet as they come through the back markers. Could this give a chance to Crosby? Payne's wide, up the inside. Has Crosby made a move? Not yet, but can he make it into turn number 4?
Not quite. There's not the space to make the move. The pace wasn't there. They caught the other rider in this race just at the wrong moment, and now Josh Bannister's been unsettled. Kyle Payne having to look right around the outside, coming into turn number 7. Did he make the move? He certainly tried to make a move. They're up the inside though. Ryan Hitchcock almost makes contact with Harrison Crosby into the second last corner. They touched only slightly. No damage done for either of them, but that's going to set the tensions going between the battle for third place. That's also unleashed Josh Bannister and Kyle Payne to have a bit of a scrap on their own through turns 2 and 3. Left versus right, really having to move the bike over. A very physical movement as they make their way up towards the infield. Once again, we've only got 2 3/4 laps to go. The race leader is Bannister ahead of Kyle Payne. Third and fourth is still under attack once again. Ryan Hitchcock's going for the inside line, tries to make it on Harrison Crosby. Crosby runs wide, right around the outside at turn number 7, and through has gone Ryan Hitchcock with more mechanical grip. It seemed a bit of a shake of the head there from Harrison Crosby. Not best pleased, it seemed.
No, he was not best pleased at all, but it looked like it was Ryan Hitchcock that was making some of the hard moves to begin with. But looking further back, it looks like we might have a change for 5th and 6th. Yes, it is. Brown has just moved ahead of Sullivan Moundy through turn number 9, so that's a great battle going on between the 5th and 6th. Now, there's only a lap and a bit remaining, and it looks like Hitchcock is making inroads into your top 2. Bannister's got a bit of a gap on Payne. Payne has a little bit of a gap on Hitchcock, but through the tight and twisty section of this track, again, it looks like Hitchcock on the number 43 bike has closed that back up and have dropped Harrison Crosby.
Well, dropping Harrison Crosby is not going to be happy with that. He needs to get his head back into the game, but as we get ready to start the final lap through the penultimate corner, number 2, Josh Bannister leads heading on to the final lap. Kyle Payne in second, Ryan Hitchcock in third. They're a few machine lengths away from each other, but as they make their way into turn 1 for the final time, Kyle Payne closes up on the brakes. Josh Bannister runs a little deeper. The left-handed line is not quite so good if you're trying to defend. He's been able to soak up so much pressure and place the bike over the last few laps. Can he hold it as they make their way into the infield for the final time? But Ryan Hitchcock up the inside for second place. He's through for second place. Can he attack for the race lead? They've got half a lap to go, and Ryan Hitchcock in the plum seat, ready to pounce if any mistake is made by Josh Bannister.
Josh Bannister holding it for the moment. Hitchcock has only got one more chance. No, he's not done it into turn number 9. Will he get the run out of the corner? No, he won't, and it's only a flat out right-hander to go. Josh Bannister comes across the line to take race number 2 and just holding off Hitchcock and Payne for second and third. Crosby tried to gap them back up again towards the end of the race after a mistake with a few laps remaining, but Josh Bannister takes race number 2 after commanding defensive ride over Hitchcock and Kyle Payne. And then we had Crosby in 4th spot. Lucas Brown just ahead of Sullivan Moundy. They had a great scrap for 5th and 6th throughout the entire race there. And then it was Ronnie Harris just ahead of Harrison McKee, Ollie Horner and Carter Brown rounding out the top 10. Ben Jolliffe was in 11th spot. Holly Harris picks up 4 points for 12th spot ahead of Taylor Stewart Campbell and Warwick Brady. Thomas Gomez was unfortunately your only DNF of the race at the moment. But Dan, bring you back to that race there. Josh Bannister soaked up all the pressure from Hitchcock. Hitchcock making some fantastic moves that seem to give an unexpected reality to the other riders.
Well, as they make their way through the back into the paddock, as you say, it's about making that opportunity when you can and pouncing on the final lap. Didn't seem like Kyle Payne was really expecting it. Ryan Hitchcock thought, well, I might as well do it, so I'll go and do it. He did get the fastest lap as well. So, highlights of that second GP 50 race of the weekend. It was a great start by Josh Bannister. Second place was being scrapped for by Kyle Payne, Ryan Hitchcock and Harrison Crosby, especially Harrison Crosby over the course of the race. but it was a masterful defence by Josh Bannister. The number 2 rider finishes in number 1 position. Ryan Hitchcock did start quite well. A late move in the race. Hitchcock did try to go for third, couldn't do it early on. Into turn number 5, the second of the hairpins, the right-handed hairpin. Harrison Crosby sort of got a bit unfurled by that by the end of the race. Josh Bannister came over to take the win, but Ryan Hitchcock stayed left, braked as late as he dared, and went for the move for second place. Got an extra piece of silverware. Well, as they now make their way back to the paddock, we head back out to track for some more action. It's a 14-lap race, this next one, race 2 for the Extreme 200s here at Tattershall. You're listening to live coverage of round 4 of the 2019 Cool FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championships. So as they make their way onto the grid then, there's a few riders in this race that are starting to line up. We've got a few riders trying to get back up. We've got Cameron Horsman due to start this race. We've got a few British Talent Cup and other riders, including Brad Ray, making his way up to the top of the grid. Cameron Horsman's actually marshalling this weekend, so helping out with some of his fellow riders. It's going to be quite a jumbled grid by the seams of it, because we don't seem to have a front row as it stands. Richard Holmes-Williams and Max Cook were due to be on the front row. They're no longer there, so that sort of makes our life a bit more difficult. We'll give you the full grid in a moment as they are about to head out onto the green flag lap. But thank you for joining us. This is live coverage of round 4 of the 2019 Cool FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championships, the official partner series to the Bennett's British Superbike Championship, and on the road to MotoGP. As they make their way onto the green flag lap then, it's Liam Hodgins with the grid.
So Richard Holmes-Williams, as he said, Dan, should be starting from pole position after yesterday's qualifying on bike 126. Alongside him should be Max Cook, but it looks like Max will be starting from the back of the grid. Martin Glossop making his debut this weekend should be third spot on bike number 6 ahead of Brad Ray on bike number 28, BSB star Brad Ray. Kier Armstrong on bike 122 is 5th on the grid ahead of Taylor Lawrence on bike 10 in 6th spot. Followed him is Will Howarth on bike number 96 in 7th position ahead of John Ansell on bike 6, 8, 5 and 8th spot on the grid. Josh Ingram is next up in 9th position on bike 147 ahead of Brandon Pearl on bike 146, the yellow Pearl. Harvey Claridge is next up on bike number 16 in 11th place on the grid, just ahead of Cam Harris in 12th spot. Jamie King follows him in 13th, unlucky for some, ahead of Tom Ward in 14th spot. Charlie Nesbitt is another rider that will be starting at the back of the grid, along with Max Cook on bike number 86. And Roger Monks rounds out the top 16, though all the runners and riders for the start of the Extreme 200 race here from round number 4 at Tattershall. The 14-lap race is about to get underway.
Riders looking towards the first corner. Marshall's just ensuring everyone is in position. Of course, if you do start out of position, not good. But the number 28 rider, Brad Ray, effectively starting on pole position now. Of course, Bennett's British Superbike Championship race winner of a Cool Fab as well. The green flag is about to go up. Down it goes, we're underway. A good start by Brad Ray. The number 6, though, of Martin Glossop makes a great start into the lead of the race for the first time. Brad Ray starts in second place, side by side for third and fourth. They make their way through turns 2 and 3 for the first time. Left and right, flick the bikes over. These Extreme 200 bikes are quite like pit bikes, very torquey machines. They can really launch you out of the corners. And it's such a tricky, tight circuit, this circuit, Tattershall in Lincolnshire. You really have to be patient with the power delivery. Some very aggressive curbs as well. This circuit was underwater about a week ago as well, so it's still quite green in terms of the track grip and the rubber. Martin Glossop, though, finding no troubles aboard the number 6 machine. He leads, heading over the line for the first time. And we've got a rider who's just dropped it on the exit of turn number 9, a number 22 machine. Not sure who that is. We'll get you more information on that in just a moment, but they are getting back onto the bike, so all is well with them. Martin Glossop, though, leads this race. Brad Ray in second place. We've got a rider down at turn 3 as well. The front just washed out from under them. Bike in the middle of the road, the rider's up and about to get back onto it. So Taylor Lawrence not having a good start to this race as well. Well, we were just mentioning the track's quite green in terms of track rubber. Well, a few riders are demonstrating that for us visually.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if it's maybe the change in track temperature from the rest of the weekend. It's quite cool today. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of sunshine over the weekend, so maybe it's just changed the track temperature. The tyres are reacting differently to that, and it's just made a couple of riders push a little bit too hard, and the grip has gone completely. But that has left a humongous gap, I'm just creating a new word there, at the top of the field between Martin Glossop and the 28 of Brad Ray. The yellow flags are still out for Taylor Lawrence, who crashed last lap at turn number 2 and 3. But look at Brandon Pearl. Brandon Pearl back in 5th spot there as he comes through turn number 4. He's gone from 10th on the grid. He's now up to 5th place in the race, so he's chasing down the riders just in front of him. So we've got Will Howarth trying to make a move around the outside of the likes of Brandon Pearl, but Harvey Clarridge as well has made great positions in the opening couple of laps into 7th position on the racetrack at the moment, as Brad Ray tries to get the run through turn number 9 into turn 10 to go the fast right-hander along the start and finish straight. Martin Glossop, will he come under attack from Brad Ray, who wheelies across the start finish line? Not quite yet. He's just shaping up his rival for the last few laps.
So we've got a battle for the race lead of 2 riders, and we've got a battle for 3rd involving the rest of the field. So all shaping up rather nicely as this race stands at the moment. Martin Glossop still leads. Brad Ray not able to find a way through. 3rd place is John Ansell aboard the 685 machine. Josh Ingram in 4th place. They've been scrapping the last few laps. Brandon Pearl, as you mentioned a lap ago as well, Liam, still up there in 5th place ahead of Will Howarth. Harvey Clarridge and Cam Harris, your top 8, ahead of Jamie King and Charlie Nesbitt, with Max Cook, Tom Ward, Kier Armstrong and Ian Jackson, the other runners and riders in this race. But Brandon Pearl is under attack from Will Howarth, number 126 versus 96, the fluorescent black and yellow rider, very popular figure in the paddock, under increasing pressure, not just from Will Howarth, but also having to fight ahead of him with Josh Ingram into turn 1. Turns 2 and 3, left and right, really throwing these bikes about. Getting the pressure into the tyres is a very tricky thing to do, and as they make their way into the infield section once again, it's all concertinaing.
John Ansell in 3rd spot there, who is of course the uncle of Blake Ansell, a very popular rider around the Cool FAB-Racing paddock. Now back to the battle for 1st and 2nd is Brad Ray, still in 2nd spot. The Benz British Superbike rider wheeling across the start finish line once again. There's a bit of a bump as they come over the start finish line there, which really lifts the front wheel up. But it looks like Brad Ray's just pulling wheelies for fun out there. But as Martin Glossop leads the way, Brad Ray is going to try and find a way past this rider because he's showing great speed, great turn of fortune for the riders. No, that's the first race weekend of him this weekend. But looking back to battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th, the gap seems to be opening up ever so between John Ansell, Josh Ingram, Brandon Pearl and Will Howarth, who is giving Brandon Pearl a lot to think about in this race.
Well, there's a bit more breathing room for them at the moment, but they're still coming under increasing pressure. 3 laps completed, 9 to go in this second Extreme 200s race of the weekend. Change almost for the lead going into turn number 1. Brad Ray left it extremely late, but couldn't make the move, remains in 2nd place. Martin Glossop doing a brilliant job, we must add, to defend from the number 28 rider with the fastest lap at the moment. The battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th continuing. Ansell ahead of Ingram. Josh Ingram is the number 147. Brandon Pearl and Will Howarth still scrapping away, but 3rd place is the one that's extremely close between John Ansell and Josh Ingram. Into turn number 4, the first of the hairpins. Left, right, then left again. You've got to really try and throw the bike over without putting too much power down, getting a bit of a wheel spin, causing yourself a tank slap, and that's going to be the challenge. Over the line again, the race leaders, and it is with 5 laps to go. Martin Glossop with the new fastest lap, 45.288, 3/10 ahead of Brad Ray.
Great lap time there from Martin Glossop as he comes under increasing pressure from Brad Ray, who tried to make a move into turn 1 the last time round there. So can Brad Ray find a way past the debutant for this weekend, Martin Glossop, who, if been speaking to people around the paddock, says he's a very quick and talented rider and should have gone places, but he's shown that he really should have gone places ahead of a BSB racer who'll be racing at Knockhill next weekend aboard his Bennett's British Superbike Suzuki. We've got a rider pulled off the track at the exit of turn number 4. I'm not too sure who that
may be. Harvey
be.
Clarridge, the number 16 rider.
I believe you're right. It looks like Harvey Clarridge has pulled off the edge of the circuit. Not sure if there was a bike issue there that he's pulled off the circuit for, or if he nearly tagged the back of another rider. But that's unfortunate there for the young rider there, that's Harvey Cloud. But come back to the top of the field, it's still Martin Glossop leading the way. A bit of a gap between himself and Brad Ray.
Well, it's been consistently 3/10 for the last, 5 or 6 laps in all reality. Martin Glossop just got enough in his pocket to hold off Brad. And there again, Brad may well be keeping quite a lot in reserve. You would expect that to be the case. Into the hairpins once again for the battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th. Still Ansel ahead of Ingram, Peril and Howarth. They're still nose to tail. Will Howarth giving increasing pressure onto Brandon Peril, 2 regulars in our paddock. But over the line again, Martin Glossop and Brad Ray. It's 0.4 of a second now. So Brad and Martin just keeping track of each other. They're not increasing the gap, and he's not decreasing the gap. He's just there or thereabouts. And with 5 laps to go, he is starting to run out of time of which to make the kind of move you would expect he may make. But the number 6 is ahead of number 128. John Ansell is your 3rd place man on the podium, ahead of Josh Ingram and Brandon Peril.
Yes, great ride there for Brandon Peril. Brandon Peril makes a move up the inside. I'm not too sure if that's a bag marker. Yes, it was out of shot. And it's, of course, Brad Ray still chasing down Martin Glossop. There's just 4 and a bit laps remaining of this Extreme 200 race from round number 4 here at Tattershall. The gap at the front just seems to be eking out ever so slightly. A couple of hundredths here and there. But it looks like Martin Glossop still has this race under control for the moment as we look back out of the commentary box window. And of course, the battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th is still embroiled. A bit of a gap opening up. John Ansell holding that 3rd spot at the moment, but we've got a change for 5th and 6th. Will Howarth looking up the inside of Brandon Peril. Yes, Will Howarth is up into 5th position in this Extreme 200 race. Brandon Peril drops back to 6th spot, but still a great ride from the Yellow Peril. And of course, we've got maybe a move for the lead between Brad Ray and Glossop. Not quite yet, but Brad Ray has definitely closed the gap back to the race leader.
And it's another contrasting element where Brad's got great traction out to the final corner, heading up towards turn number 1, looking to the inside, can't make the move on this occasion. Martin Glossop just had enough straight line speed in order to carry it through, but using the extra traction that he's able to generate, the number 28 rider, the blue leathers with the yellow on the machine, the Suzuki rider in the Bennett's British Superbike Championship, former alumni of Cool Fab of the Mini GP bikes as well, so knows this paddock inside out and knows this circuit not too badly indeed. We've been coming here for Cool Fab since 2017, and with 3 laps to go, Martin Glossop is proving the experience around this circuit that he has got. The number 6 rider again starts the new lap over the line. Number 6 and number 28 heading down towards turn number 1. No move made on this occasion, but Brad Ray is 3/10 behind, really is hanging on by the coattails. They're just about to approach as well another run-on rider in this race where they need to make sure they can get past quickly. The number 10 rider, that was Taylor Lawrence, who had that moment a few laps ago, and that's going to prove quite the challenge indeed. Through the 2nd and the 3rd hairpins, the infield section so tight and twisty, you don't want to make a mistake, and Martin Glossop just catches him at the wrong time. They're about to go up the inside into the penultimate corner. He looks over his right shoulder to Taylor Lawrence. He points him through. They both go through, but maybe Brad was held up slightly. But that sets us up perfectly to start the final lap of this race. Brad Ray looks up the inside, going into turn number 1. He goes for the race lead. He's up the inside on the curb. He's made the move stick. So into turn number 2, he pounces when the moment was right and not a moment more. Into turn number 2, and Bradley Ray, the number 28 rider, leads this race with half a lap to go. But Martin Glossop fighting back. The number 26 couldn't make it through on the inside at the first hairpin.
Yeah, great riding there from Brad Ray and Martin Glossop. Can Glossop nearly tags the back of Brad Ray as he goes for a move into turn 7. That's opened up the gap at the top of the field. Brad Ray looks like he's got this covered through turn number 9. That was the last of the overtaking opportunities. Brad Ray looks behind him. Last lap coming across the line, final turn. Brad Ray wheelies across the line, takes the race win ahead of Martin Glossop. Great riding there from both riders, pushing hard, showing each other a lot of wheel up their side. Back to the battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th. It looks like Will Howarth has made a move into 4th spot. Yes, he has. Can he make a move on the 3rd spot? Not quite, but we've got a change of position. It's going to be Ansell coming across the line. 3rd spot, John Ansell ahead of Will Howarth and Josh Ingram. What a battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th. The final podium positions closed up dramatically there on the last couple of laps. So just ahead of Brandon Pearl was Josh Ingram in 5th spot, Brandon Pearl in 6th. Cam Harris was next up in 7th position, a good strong ride there from Cam Harris. Kier Armstrong in 8th position, ahead of Charlie Nesbitt, who started at the back of the grid. Jamie King rounds out your top 10. Tom Ward just missed out on the top 10 position on bike number 21, ahead of Ian Jackson. Taylor Lawrence, who had a bit of an incident on the early couple of laps, was 13th, ahead of Harvey Clouch, who pulled off the circuit at one point, and Max Cook is your only DNF on the race.
So no front row on the grid for the second Extreme 200 race of the weekend. It was Bradley Ray and Martin Glossop who started on the front row effectively. Martin Glossop got into the lead for the first time at the first corner and pretty much stayed there for the entirety of the race. It was further battles behind, including a few riders, including number 27, number 22. They were getting a bit tangly, lost a bike coming onto the second last corner, did get back onto the machine, so no harm done there, bit of pride hurt though. The battle for the race lead developed quite quickly between Brad Ray and Martin Glossop. Moment for Taylor Lawrence, losing the front end of the bike, did get back on and back into the race, so great to see that, no problem for Taylor Lawrence. But it's a very tricky complex, the left and then the right at turns 2 and 3. Brad Ray and Martin Glossop fought pretty much for all of the 14, and they made their way through the final few corners. Brad left it as late as he dared, got very close through the final few corners, got great run coming into the final first corner for the final lap, up the inside, job done, didn't have to think about it, he just made the move, and well, that was how Brad Ray won the race. Martin Glossop and John Ansell, that was your podium for the Extreme 200's, the second race of the weekend. Their third and final one will be out later on this afternoon. But now we turn our attention to another very spicy championship in the form of the Mini F1 sidecars. There was collisions and controversy, and well, it was all excitement in yesterday's first encounter, Liam.
It was a lot of excitement indeed. It's good to see that Mick Lee is back out on the circuit. It looked like his passenger might have been injured, but it's good to see that they're back out and will be giving us a lot more race action ahead of race number 2 here from Tattershall. Now, of course, it was your championship leader Mick Lee retired with a number of laps remaining after they led the early part of the race, but they will be going from the pole position once again on the grid. So can we see maybe Jack Walters pick up his third win of the season, or will Mick Lee regain the stronghold of the championship?
Well, all will be told in just a few moments. There's no green flag lap for this. Thank you for joining us. This is live coverage at round 4 of the 2019 Cool FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championships. They look to the grid then. We're underway with this race. It was Mick Williams and Jack Waters from the front row. Mick Lee, though, bullies his way into second place into the first corner for the first time. So Mick Williams leads ahead of the number 44 and Mick Lee side by side again, with Jack Waters running right over the grass, going to mow the grass, got to rejoin safely, make sure it doesn't collide with anyone, just manages to avoid everyone else. So Mick Williams leads this race. It's 147 of Mark Parker, who was John Hosker, who got a good start, also Paul Quarters and Jack Quarters getting nose to tail into the hairpins for the first time. It's a very tricky and tight section of this circuit, side by side for second place with Jack Waters heading into the final few corners for the first time. It's only a short race, this one. It's down to be a 6-lap race over the line, and it's Mick Williams leading ahead of the second and third place riders. Number 2 just ahead of number 24. That's into turn 1. It is Paul Quarters Jr. versus Jack Waters. Jack Waters ahead in second place for now. A bit of dust and a bit of smoke coming from the back of the number 2 machine, so pushing these things very hard.
Indeed, and of course Mick Lee is having horrendous luck so far this weekend, running off the track in the first couple of corners. He's trying to make his way back through the field. He's just up behind 127 of John Hosker, but Mick Lee is scurried away at the top of the field. Just in case he does come into another big problem, he might have a bit of a gap to try and sort out and continue on in this race. But now that Jack Walters is in second spot, he seems to have pegged that gap ever so slightly, coming through the fast turn right-hander. Across start finish line now has Jack Walters pinned the gap. Yes, it was around 2.6 seconds last time round. It's now 2.8. So we've got Mick Williams still increasing the lead at the top of the field, but ever so slightly. This is your championship battle. Mick Williams ahead of Jack Walters, the number 26 ahead of the number 2. There's 30 points between them in the championship at the moment. We've had 8 race wins from Mick Williams so far this year, 2 from Jack Walters. They're the only 2 that have held the spoils. In third spot is Paul Walters Jr., who picked up second position yesterday, ahead of Mark Parker, who was third in yesterday's race. Mick Lee, after his early off-track excursion, is in fifth spot ahead of Simon Ibbotson, John Hosker in seventh, and Russell Morgan rounds out your runners and riders.
Great to have Russell Morgan back out in the race at the moment. Fight going on between John Hosker and Simon Ibbotson. They make their way up towards the final 2 corners. It's going to take a brave move to go up the inside this early into the race, and the bright blue machine of the number 46 remains ahead of the yellow 127. Mick Williams extending his advantage on that lap to 3.2 seconds. We've got 4 laps to go, so not too long in this race to go. 51.7 was the lap time for Mick Williams. Jack Walters and Paul Walters Jr., they're still about 3 seconds adrift of each other. But it's the battle between Simon Ibbotson and John Hosker. Through turns 2 and 3 they go now, and of course it's not just rider, it's rider and sidecar passenger, and the passenger makes a big difference around this circuit. They've got to really hustle themselves around and throw the bikes about. You don't want to be losing your passenger around here.
No, you don't indeed, and we've had some people lose a passenger so far this season, and of course yesterday as well, with Russ Morgan losing his passenger with a couple of laps remaining. But there is a battle going on for 4th position. Mick Lee has caught the bag of Mark Parker. Coming across start finish line through a commentary box window, and Mick Lee has moved up into 4th position. He's got 2 and a bit laps remaining. Can he catch the bag of Paul Walters Jr.? There's about a 7/10 gap in the lap times, with a big lead of about 3 seconds between them, so I doubt that'll happen, but you never know what's going to happen in motor racing.
You definitely don't, and John Hosker knows that as well. Was fighting and is now ahead of Simon Ibbotson for 6th place. So the number 127 almost getting collided with by the number 46 into turn number 3. It's only 3 laps to go, so 3 laps to go, well 2.5 laps now to go for those riders. 2 laps to go for Mick Williams, the race leader, making their way through turn number 2. But they don't seem to be going around quite as quickly as they do sometimes. They're just about to put a lap on Russ Morgan, so Mick Williams about a lap and a half to go. Jack Walters still second, Paul Walters Jr. in third, 4th for Mick Lee ahead of Mark Parker. That has been confirmed on our timing screens. Then it is John Hosker ahead of Simon Ibbotson, and it is in fact a bit slower on that last lap for the number 46 of Simon Ibbotson. It was a 58 second lap, I believe, that last one. Russ Morgan also getting a lap put on as well.
Yes, it looks like Russ Morgan was the one that was going a little bit slow there, just moving out the way of the leaders as they were coming around to lap him there. But it's going to be the start of the final lap of the race for Mick Williams, a commanding race from our championship leader. Will he be going on for his 9th win of 11? It looks like he's on his way to doing that now. Mick Lee is trying to catch the back of Paul Walters Jr. There's only about a second in it. Coming across start finish line now. 3rd and 4th will be embroiled in a big battle towards the end of the race, but we're looking at our man in commanding position, Mick Williams, through the infield section of the circuit, and of course this man will be increasing his championship lead to 35 points. Coming into this race it was 30 points. Jack Walters will be finishing in 2nd position in this race so far, so commanding the last couple of corners on the circuit through turn number 9. A bit of a power slide there, showing off the celebrations a little bit early. Don't put it into the tyres there, Mick. So coming across start finish line, it's going to be Mick Williams taking the checkered flag. That is 9 wins from 11 races so far this year. Coming across the line for 2nd is Jack Walters, and Mick Lee right behind Paul Walters Jr. coming through the final corner out of a commentary box window. Will it be Mick Lee? Will it be Paul Walters Jr.? As Walters Jr. takes it, Mick Lee runs off the grass there, mowing some of the daisies down as it happens, but it was a close battle there between Paul Qualters Jr. and Mick Lee, and John Hosker comes across the line in 5th spot. It was Russell Morgan in 7th, and Simon Ibbotson will be in 6th position in this race. In actual fact, it looks like it was Mark Parker came across the line in 3rd spot, not Paul Qualters Jr.
Well, we'll try and find out what happened to Paul Qualters Jr. on that last lap. Just over the line now for the number 46 of Simon Ibbotson. So it was a good race there for Mick Williams, winning by 6.2 seconds on that last lap. Jack Waters second ahead of Mark Parker. What a run though from Mick Lee, despite going over the grass on lap 1. Certainly gave it a good attempt to make up some ground. Going over the grass at the end of the race is not going to help at all though. And with the rest of the racing, here we go then. Replay of that last race, the second race of the Mini F1 sidecars this weekend, making their way through the first turns for the first time. The number 44 stayed on the right hand side. Was it a bit of a bump, or did they just get some understeer? Either way, they go over the grass, pick up a bit of fresh pollen, so hopefully they're not going to start sneezing halfway through that race for them. Good battle between Simon Ibbotson and John Hosker, 1-2-7. They were fighting tooth and nail, but it was the race winner, the number 26 of Mick Williams and Passenger, over the line for the final time, and just curbing to the grass once again. That was the number 44 of Mick Lee. A bit of a shame for him to be going over the grass not once but twice. They'll get it cleaned out and they'll get it back racing later on this afternoon for their third and final race of the weekend. So thank you very much for joining us. This is live coverage of round 4 of the 2019 Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bike Championships. So Dan Marr and Liam Hodgins in the grid. In the commentary box, we're going to be bringing you the grid in a moment. We've got the next race out, which is the AC40 Rookies, and they had a slightly calmer first race of the weekend yesterday, Liam, but that's only really getting used to the circuit and knowing what they're going to be doing today. I predict a bit more fireworks out there.
Yeah, there will be a lot more fireworks out there today because they've got to try and catch Archie Gibbs, who is looking in commanding position of the racetrack this weekend. Archie Gibbs took the race win yesterday ahead of Luke Fitchett and championship leader Ollie Sims. Now, the fact that Archie Gibbs took the race win yesterday brings the championship down from 15 points down to 6 points going into this race. Now, if the positions remain the same with Archie Gibbs taking the race win and Ollie Sims finishing in the 3rd spot, there's a gap of 9 points between 1st and 3rd. That means that Archie Gibbs will take the championship lead by 3 points going into the final race of the day. Now, it's a big grid here today, and roughly 22 riders, so we've got a big grid to read out for you and a lot of riders that will be giving us great race action. Now, it's called the Rookies for a reason, because, well, there's a lot of young talent out there, and of course some riders that are making their debut this year, so it's a nice wee proving ground for young riders to try and start out, and as you can see, they're quite small on small bikes.
Well, they are the first riders. They are on the first ladder, the first bit of the ladder for the Road to MotoGP and the official partner series to the Bennett's British Superbike Championships. Many of our riders have gone on to the likes of the British Talent Cup or European Talent Cup. They've gone to race in Spain to go and prove themselves over there, or even racing in the UK in MotoStar and in other championships like that, just to get that experience, and have gone on to great things, such as Danny Kent, one of our many former riders. Brad Ray returns to us this weekend for a bit of fun after his racing in the Bennett's British Superbike Championship. But the green flag lap is go for the second AC40 Rookies race of the weekend, and it is Liam Hodgins with the grid.
Yeah, so Archie Gibbs will be rounding off the pole position once again this weekend ahead of Luke Fitchett and Joshua Williams on bike number 78 from 3rd spot. Next up is going to be Blake Wilson on bike 108 and 4th position on the grid. Ahead of your championship leader, Ollie Sims in 5th position on bike number 73. Brandon Keane will be on bike 333 in 6th position ahead of Luke Schofield, will be on the 4th row of the grid in 7th. William Harris is next up in 8th spot ahead of Marco Holt on bike number 58. Casey Spady on bike number 20, the same font as Fabio Quartararo in MotoGP in 10th spot. Archie O'Brien in 11th ahead of Wilson Dilks will be in 12th spot on the grid on bike number 85. Jacob Stevenson on number 67. And then next up is Harry Payne in 14th position on the grid. Number 42 of Thorley Trevorrow in 15th spot ahead of Max Wilson on bike number 33. Arnie Carr on bike 83 in 17th spot on the grid. Bailey Lawrence in 18th position ahead of this race, ahead of Callum Maxwell on the 10th row of the grid. 19th, Roman Ratcliffe in 20th spot ahead of Chloe Sewell on bike 101. And rounding out the runners and riders for the start of this AC40 Rookies race number 2 is Izzy Carter on bike 46.
The riders look towards turn 1. It's a very short run towards the first corner. It's a 8-lap race in prospect as they look towards the green flag. It goes up. There's a lot of creeping from a few riders. One of the organisers pointing to a few riders, so that's not a good sign. But we are underway into turn 1 for the first time. It looks about everyone just about manages to get through cleanly. It's quite a large field as well, so it will take a few moments for them all to stream through turns 2 and 3 for the first time. Left and right, a long odd run before we get to the infield, the very technical tight infield circuit at Tattershall. It's going to be a challenge for many of our young riders. The temperatures are down, so tyre temperatures down. Grip will be vastly different to what was available yesterday. The bike's now in a bit cooler. Temperatures will offer maybe a few extra horsepower as well, which every little helps as they make their way up towards the line for the first time.
We've got a rider come down. That's Archie Gibbs. That's Archie Gibbs, our race leader, is down at turn number 9, pushing a little bit too early at the start of the race. Archie Gibbs out of first position, trying to get the bike started. That is huge news for the championship there. Ollie Sims will be looking to increase his championship lead after that incident. One of the marshals are helping out Archie Gibbs. He's back into the race and in last spot at the moment. That is terrible luck for our race winner from yesterday.
Well, from first to last in a drop of a hat. We were just saying there's less grip available than there was yesterday. Such a shame for Arnie Carr, who will have to fight his way through. You think he may well be able to do so, and we will keep you informed as to all the developments in this race. But now the battle for the race lead starting to progress. Luke Fitchett well and truly up there at the moment as they make their way through turn number 7 for the second time now.
Yes, absolutely. And unfortunately, Archie Gibbs has just pulled into the pit lane, so obviously some more bike troubles. So Archie Gibbs is out of this race. That is your race 1 winner from yesterday, and he was only 6 points behind the championship leader coming into this race. So coming across start finish line, it's going to be Luke Fitchett leading the way ahead of Ollie Sims, your championship leader. More runners and riders coming across start finish line. That's number 31 on bike 201, and Casey Spady just behind them on bike number 20. Casey Spady putting in a great performance yesterday, finishing high up the order in 5th position in the race. And of course there's a bit of a gap opening up between first and second. There's a bit of a gap back to 3rd spot, and then a huge gap back to 4th, 5th and 6th. Casey Spady looks like he's making a move on the likes of the riders in front of them as they come through the technical section on the track. But as the riders get the tyres up to temperature, maybe we'll see some moves just at the moment. As I say that, it looks like there's a rider trying to make a move into turn 7, just holding back at the moment.
Well, you're trying to size up your opponents, make sure you can go for those kind of overtakes. It is quite a narrow circuit around here. The number 333 having a good go at the moment. Brandon Keane side by side through the final corner with the number 20. So as they make their way over the line now, side by side, great run down towards turn number 1. And Fitchett is ahead of Ollie Sims. That's your first and second positions. Blake Wilson in 3rd. Joshua Williams in 4th ahead of Casey Sperry. Casey Sperry still ahead of Brandon Keane despite that attack at the final corner. So they're currently fighting for 5th and 6th into turns 3 and 4. The yellow and white bike of the number 20 contrasts greatly with the dark black and red number 20 machine. So Casey Sperry well and truly in the mix.
It looks like there's a sizable gap going for first and second position at the moment. Ollie Sims is sizing up his opponent. Luke Fitchett is still in the lead of this race as they come across start finish line any moment now. So they come across the line. Will there be a move into turn number 1? As we look at the commentary box window, not quite yet. Luke Fitchett is still leading the race ahead of Ollie Sims. Casey Spady making a move around the outside. What a move that is, carrying the corner speed through the flat out turn. Oh, we've got a rider toppled over into turn number 1. There's a rider hard on the brakes just behind Casey Spady there, but Casey Spady is still all okay. So the rider is not too happy. It looks like he's taking out someone else at the moment, but we'll look at the battle for first. And of course, it's still Luke Fitchett racing ahead of Ollie Sims.
Red flag.
And the red flag has come out for that incident at turn number 1, Dan.
So red flag has been called for the second AC40 Rookies race of the weekend. We're not sure. We'll get you more information when we can, but as our time screens say at the moment, it was Luke Fitchett who was leading that race by just 0.10196. We're getting some adjusted times at the moment, so we'll get you more information. At the moment, Fitchett and Ollie Sims was turning into a good battle. Unfortunately, riders seemed to just lose the front end going into turn 1, but we will get you some more information as to that in a few moments' time. But thank you for joining us. This is live coverage of round 4 of the 2019 Cool FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championships. We're at Tattershall in Lincolnshire. Thank you for joining us on social media. Please do get in touch on social media. Let us know who you're supporting, who you're following over the course of the weekend. Keep sharing, keep letting us know all your great comments and feedback over the course of the weekend. And it's great to know who you're supporting over the weekend as well. Any messages of support as well, we'll try and get a few of those read out when we can. But as the riders head back to the paddock for a few moments, we will get a quick highlights package so far. We had 4 laps into that race, 3 or 4 laps into that race. So even though it hadn't had too long in terms of distance, it was still quite interesting to have that. So we're getting informed that the rider is up onto his feet. So that's the latest news we've got for you. But highlights now coming up of the AC40 Rookies. May well get the session restarted in a few moments' time. But as they got on the way off the grid for the first time, a few riders getting side and almost a bit of contact into turn number 1. A few riders having to find a bit of space in the session. Then Archie Gibbs drops a bike. That was the end of his race. He got back to the paddock and that was that. So from the lead of the race right to the very back of the field, that's costly and vital championship points that we needed. Heading into turn 1, a few riders further down, Casey Sperry, as well as the number 333 of Brandon Keane, all getting involved in a great battle, heading into the infield, making a late move up the inside at turn number 9, but losing out of the corner, and the riders getting prepared. It looks like Archie Gibbs is going to restart this race, so we could well have him back at the start of this race. We're not sure as to what the distance will be or anything like that. We will keep you informed as and when we get the information. So thank you for bearing with us at the moment. And I'd just also like to say a big thank you to all of the marshals and all of the medics for their hard work and support. And they're apparently we're getting a bike recovered now. So we will keep you informed as that. But big thank you to all of the marshals and all of the medics for your support over the time. It's without you guys, we simply couldn't go motor racing, so thank you. Now we've got a replay of the incident now, heading into turn number 1, into the braking zone. Was it over bump? Yes, it was over bump. Maybe over braked the front wheel, and that just tippled the bike over him, Liam.
Yes, it looks like it was. There's quite bumpy going into that turn number 1, so maybe just a bit too much maybe too much of a grab of the front brake going into that corner there, but going over the bumps it is a little bit tough. But thankfully the rider is up and okay. The number 10 there of William Harris going over the top, so thankfully the rider's up and okay, and that's the main thing here, Dan, because obviously we're here racing and motorsport is fast, but we've got a great medical team here. The marshals are doing a fantastic job, and of course the riders are trying their absolute best to impress and get great results in. But with every incident, it's good that we've got, of course, lots of fantastic facilities to accommodate that.
Some great facilities, some great action here from Tattershall in Lincolnshire, round 4 of the 2019 Cool FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championships. We will be bringing you some more racing action in just a few moments' time. Thank you for joining us. This is live coverage of the 4th round of the championship. We do visit Tattershall twice this season, much as we did last season. We're coming here for the end of season race meeting as well, and that then adds another dynamic when you've got the nice cold weather and all the championship battles to really think about. But we do look forward to coming back to the Lincolnshire circuit in a few months' time. But speaking of circuits we're going to be going to next, I believe Lyd will be the next round. That's one we've not been to for a few seasons, and that'll be, especially for the rookies, will be a completely different experience for them.
Yeah, not just the rookies, but many riders in all categories as well. Maybe even some of the riders that are higher up in the championship from the GP50s and 70s. If it's a track they've not been to for such a while, then maybe the track they went to their last time, they were in the rookies. So it's a little bit different for all the runners and riders, and of course it's a learning experience for everyone. So they might go there. The track might be a little bit different to when it was like when they last went to it a few years ago.
Well, it's the next round of the championship in a few weeks' time. We certainly do hope to have you there. And we're going to be getting news of a full restart. So we'll get confirmation of that in just a moment. Our producer's just telling us some more information. So, according to what we're hearing, it's going to be a full race restart. So it should be another 8-lap race at the moment. Just a reminder for the rest of the racing this weekend, we've got the Mini GP70s will be the race after this one. We're still waiting to get the AC40 rookies back out on circuit. The Mini GP70s will be out next with the AC40 Pros, the Pit Bike 140 and Moto teams, followed by the Junior LC40 Elite and the Senior Mini Motos. Highlights of the first Mini GP70 race of the weekend now. And it was a great start by everyone. Good tricky battles by a few riders as they made their way through the Lincolnshire circuit. Saf Watley, unfortunately having bike problems, getting very furious, thumping the bike, hopefully getting it out and getting it fixed for today. Through turns 2 and 3, left and right. It was a great start between James Cook and Evan Belford. They fought all the way through the race. James Cook soaking up a tremendous amount of pressure. So too did Eddie O'Shea. Ryan Hitchcock also involved in the battle for the podium like we had in the Mini GP50s. Battle for the lead got very tight at moments between Cook and Belford. Over the line they nearly touched on a number of occasions. Late move up the inside for Evan Belford for the first time, made it through, got the race lead, almost contact with James Cook, pushed him out wide. Did keep the lead though, did James, just about though. Evan Belford did though reclaim the race lead at some point. Ryan Hitchcock going for second place, coming out of the first corner, in a big moment, almost lost it, shaking his head there, really furious with himself, but he did keep it in. A very good piece of bike control. Bailey Stewart Campbell getting involved as well, but working their way through a few other riders in the race. James Cook was ahead of Evan Belford, did manage to make his way back through, but Evan with the bit between his teeth, he could smell the position. He wanted that race victory so badly. He really likes the Tattershall circuit. Did well here last season, making his way into turn 1 once again, up the inside, nice and clean, made it through, and it worked. So Evan Belford kept the race lead all the way up to the end of the race and took the checkered flag just ahead of James Cook. Third place went to a few other riders. Eddie O'Shea well up in there. Ryan Hitchcock having a great race. And a very nice touch between Evan Belford and James Cook. Got out, shaking the fist bumping, and they really enjoyed that race. And it's great to have that kind of camaraderie, isn't it? And I'm just getting confirmation for the AC40 rookies. It will be a full race restart. So they will have a 8-lap race then for that. But speaking of camaraderie, it's great to have that kind of connection when riders can go out there, they nearly have contact with each other, they're furious with each other when the visors are on, but after the race they can get out and shake hands and really enjoy the racing and the friendship that you can get in this paddock.
Yeah, it's not just this paddock, it's many paddocks from around the world. The racing paddock has always been a close-knit family because obviously there's a lot of riders out there that are working their way up the ladder. There's parents out there as well that want to see their kids and of course other people's kids make it to the big time.
And just getting confirmation, the number 10 rider from the original AC40 rookie start is walking back to the paddock. So good news, rider is up and walking. So I don't think he'll be able to restart. However, everyone else will do get going. So great to see that he's all right. A great effort from everyone else.
Yes, absolutely. A brilliant effort from all the medical staff and the marshals. And of course, the organisers here at the Cool FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championship. They do a great job for everyone involved. And of course, the AC40 rookies, as we said, will be a full race restart, which is a great lifeline for Archie Gibbs, who crashed down at turn number 9 on lap number 1. Yesterday's race winner, second in the championship, only 6 points behind Ollie Sims. I don't think Ollie Sims will be too happy to see his championship rival restart the race, but Archie Gibbs must be counting his lucky stars.
Well, he's going to be certainly very happy and can really reclaim his points back for him, as he will see it anyway. And as you say, it's that lifeline where you don't get that very often in racing, so you've certainly got to take it when you can. And he undoubtedly will have learned from his mistake and be determined not to make it again. Just as a bit of a thought, looking out the window now, the sun's starting to come out again. It's been overcast all day, and now the sun's starting to beam onto circuit. It's not as hot as it was at the peak yesterday, where it was about 21, 22 degrees. It's apparently 18 degrees, a bit of wind out there, which will make riding more challenging. But now the sun's out, belting down on you into your leathers. You're sat just in the holding area, you can't really move, so you're going to get really quite warm. As a former rider, Liam, how does that sort of affect you, sort of getting a bit of maybe heat stroke in your leathers?
Well, to be fair, you do feel it. But as you start the race, there's a lot of air passing through your leathers, and of course, so it gets away. It reduces the heat, so to speak, within the leathers, and of course the headset. And of course, when you've got the visor down, then the only thing you're thinking about is chasing that lap time, chasing the racetrack, and of course not thinking about the heat and everything. So the riders won't be thinking about that at all. Maybe towards the end of the race on the cool down lap, they'll be realising that they're a little bit too warm, but during the race they'll be absolutely fine.
Well, adrenaline does very strange things to the human body, and speaking of very strange things, the AC40 rookies, they are about to go back into racing. They're heading up to the grid once again, so everyone makes their way around the grid for the second AC40 rookie race of the weekend. We'll get you the full grid of that in just a few moments' time.
Yeah, the interesting thing is, will Archie Gibbs be starting from pole position, or will he be put to the back of the grid after not completing the first start of race number 1? We'll find out in a few moments' time. But I'll just give you a quick rundown of how it was looking for the top 3 after the first start. It was Luke Fitchett who was leading the way, just ahead of your championship leader Ollie Sims, and Blake Wilson 4.8 seconds off the race lead from race number 1. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown of how the grid order should look. It should be Archie Gibbs starting from pole position. Will he be coming through into pole position? Will he be starting from the back of the grid? Yes, he is coming through the field, so he'll be lining up from pole position. A lifeline there for second place in the championship, Archie Gibbs, who's ahead of Luke Fitchett on bike number 96, your early race leader from the previous race. It was Joshua Williams in the third spot. It's going to be Blake Wilson on bike number 108, and of course Ollie Sims, your championship leader, who worked his way up into second position, will be in fifth position on the grid, heading off row number 3. And then of course it will be Brandon Keane in sixth spot on bike 333. Luke Schofield on bike number 64 from 7th spot on the grid. William Harris is next up in 8th position on bike number 10, but that was a rider that went down from the previous race, so we don't think we'll see William Harris back out for this race. Marco Holt on bike number 58 is in 9th position on row number 5, just ahead of Casey Sperry, who worked his way up into 5th spot on the previous start. He'll be heading off row place number 10. Archie O'Brien on bike number 91 in 11th, and it's Wilson Dilks on bike number 85 in 12th spot. Jacob Stevenson on row number 7 will be in 13th position on bike number 67. Harry Payne in 14th position on bike number 11. And it's Thorley Trevorrow on bike number 42. He'll be in 15th ahead of Max Wilson on bike 33. Arnie Carr is next up in 17th spot on the grid on row number 9 ahead of Bailey Lawrence on bike number 9 in 18th position on the grid. And then it's 111 of Callum Maxwell in 19th position on row number 10 ahead of Roman Ratcliffe. Chloe Seal on bike 101 in 11th row of the grid ahead of Izzy Carter on bike number 46, the very pink bike. And of course, as you can see on the TV screen, Archie Gibbs will be starting from pole position. He crashed out of the first start of this race at turn number 9 and of course pulled into the pits, but after the restart he will be lining up on pole position once again, which is great for him, Dan.
Well, very good news indeed. They make their way towards the grid. The marshals move to the side of the circuit. Number 3 and number 96 look towards the grid from the front row. Archie Gibbs and Luke Fitchett. The green flag marshal just getting into position. Roger Keys himself performing the ever important duty. Green flag goes up. They'll be careful not to creep any further. They are underway now though. A good start by everyone as they make their way down towards the line for the first time. A really poor start for Luke Fitchett, almost down into 4th or 5th place. We've got a rider gone down on the exit of turn number 1. I can't see who that is at the moment. They seem to be up and gesticulating angrily, so I would say they're all right for now, but making their way through turns 3 and 4 once again This is the start of the second AC40 Rookies race of the weekend. Good start from Archie Gibbs once again. Touch wood, he can continue this form throughout the rest of the race. But second place onwards, Luke Fitchett is well and truly in there. He's into third place at the moment. He did lose a position, although he is starting to claw that ground back once again, Liam.
Yes, he's clawing it back indeed, but it looks like it might be Joshua Williams has had a great start from third position in the grid. He looks like he's up to second spot. There's a bit of a gap that Archie Gibbs is pulling at the top of the field, but maybe he's just had a bit of a pep talk from his parents not to go quite as fast, not push it just as much this time round, maybe just ease himself back into the race once again. So it's Archie Gibbs leading the way ahead of Joshua Williams and of course the number 96 of Luke Fitchett and your championship leader Ollie Sims.
And Luke Fitchett had made the move, so up into second place for Luke Fitchett already, making a move into turn number 1. The battle for third place between number 8 and number 15. As you mentioned, the number 15 is going extremely well at the moment, coming through the left, right and the left hairpin. It's a strung out battle at the moment for second, third and fourth. It just does take just one moment though to really close them all in again, heading into the final few corners, and that will be the end of the second lap. We'll have 6 laps to go after the end of this one, so you've got to act pretty quickly because you can't afford to really sit back and let things happen around you. Archie Gibson leads with the fastest lap. Second place for Luke Fitchett. Third and fourth, the one under contention into the first turn. The side by side into turn number 2. Can't quite keep it together though.
No, it can't, but look at Ollie Sims in fourth spot. Your championship leaders all over the back. Will he make a move around the outside of Joshua Williams into turn number 4, up to turn number 5? Not yet. So the battle for third and fourth is embroiled through the tight and twisty section of the circuit. He's just trying to put a wheel up the inside just to let Joshua know that he's there. So your championship leader Ollie Williams, bit of a moment coming out of that turn there for Joshua Williams. The bike is settling itself, pushing a little bit hard, pushing the front and the rear end of the bike as it gets early onto the throttle. It's a bit of a bumpy circuit here at Tattershall. As you can see, there's many track variations, so as you cross over from one track to the other, it can unsettle the bike. So down into turn number 1 across our first line, Ollie Sims looking up the inside of Williams. Will he make the move? Not yet. Pulls back out round the outside. Will he do this? This is audacious. Not quite doing it just at the moment. This is a battle for third and fourth, but this is very, very important for Sims and his championship battle. So can he make a move into turn number 4? It looks like Williams is holding station just for the moment.
Patience is important. You've got to pick and choose your moments. You can't just go side by side at every corner because that's going to cost you time, that's going to unsettle your rhythm, unsettle your riders. But 2.7 seconds ahead, Archie Gibbs has just flown off into the distance, has really been given a reprieve with this full race restart. Second, third and fourth, still Luke Fitchett ahead of Blake Wilson and Ollie Sims. Ollie Sims running a little deep into turn number 9. It's not really helped his run massively. It's not really cost him anything as well. We've also got Marco Holt ahead of the battle for 5th place with Brandon Keane, Luke Schofield and Casey Sperry. They were fighting in the first part of this race and they continue to fight. Over the line they go all at the moment. Marco Holt ahead of Brandon Keane, Luke Schofield and Casey Sperry extremely close into turn number 1, having half a look at each other, couldn't make it work at that moment.
Casey Sperry is all over the back of Luke Schofield, the bike number 64. Casey Sperry looking for a move, but Luke Schofield is still looking for a move on Brandon Keane just ahead of him. But will Keane make a move on Holt? Yes, he does. He's up into 5th spot. Marco Holt has been pushed aside by Brandon Keane. Looks up the inside once again, not quite doing it just yet. But then again, have we got a move for change position for 5th and 6th? Not quite. That's Luke Schofield on bike 64. And will he be lining up the bike number 58 of Marco Holt through this tight and twisty section? Marco Holt, a bit of a movement on the brakes there as he went through turn number 9. So a bit of movement there from the runners and riders a little bit further down the field. Marco Holt trying to make a move back on Luke Schofield as it comes across our first line. He's very quick on the straight there and he's round the outside. Will we have Brandon Keane once again round the outside? Yes, he lost the position to Holt. Keane back ahead. Then of course Sperry and it's Luke Schofield further back trying to make a move. So it's changing the ever-changing order of positions for 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th.
And Brandon Keane, the number 333 rider, just with an audacious way of letting the brakes off into the braking zone, firing up the inside, just putting on the power and getting back through. It's ingenious stuff, and it's the real trouble of fighting so closely in a pack, is if you make one moment and get overtaken once, you can easily get overtaken once again. So Brandon Keane, the number 333, well and truly ahead of Marco Holt, Luke Schofield and co. They're inviting a few other riders into this battle now. Casey Sperry starting to be lured in by Harry Payne, side by side with Brandon Keane over the line. Marco Holt did just about get ahead, but as they make their way, the number 31 is ahead of them at the moment into turn number 1. Also ahead with 3 laps to go, Archie Gibbs, the number 3, 2.4 seconds ahead of Luke Fitchett. With the fastest lap is Archie Gibbs. Blake Wilson still in 3rd place. They're a bit gapped now, so this battle for sort of 5th and 6th really is the one which is starting to entertain at the moment.
Just looking back down the field, or further up the field, it's Blake Wilson ahead of Ollie Sims. But Ollie Sims has had a really bad lap in that previous lap there. 8 seconds he's lost to the back of Blake Wilson. He's still in 4th spot for the moment, so not quite sure what's happened there. So Ollie Sims, your championship leader, is in a solid 4th spot, but he seems to be... Well, there's a pass there from Brandon Keane round the outside of Holt. Late on the brakes, he's done it. This is a great battle for 5th and 6th between these two young riders, and it's inviting Luke Schofield into the battle as well. But look at Holt, he's very fast down the straight. There's a back marker that overtaken late on the brakes. Who will it be? Will Schofield go up the inside of Holt? Not quite doing it just yet. He might be able to do it next lap, but then again, Holt is very fast on the straight and out of the corners. To turn at number 2 into 3 they go, is bringing Sperry back into the battle as these 3 just ahead, fighting tooth and nail for every inch, every percentage of the racetrack. Can we get a move into turn number... Schofield up the inside of Holt could have very nearly tagged the back of the rider just in front and given us a horrendous crash, but thankfully for the moment that's not quite happened just yet.
And speaking of just yet, it's just 1 lap to go until Archie Gibbs can take his victory in this second AC40 Rookies race of the meeting. So this is the final lap. The number 3 of Archie Gibbs making his way into turn 2 and 3 now. The infield section, the white rider with the fluorescent yellow fairing on the front is making such a great run for himself. The battle, though, further down, Brandon Keane still just ahead of Marco Holt. They're going to be fighting it out right to their checkered flag, but a third of a lap to go for the number 3 into turn number 7 now.
Yes, there's a great ride from Archie Gibbs. After he crashed out from race number 1, he's been able to get into the restart. Starting from pole position, he's commanded the lead of the race through turn number 9. Out of turn number 9 comes Archie Gibbs. Towards turn 10, the final corner on the circuit. Across start finish line, it's going to be Archie Gibbs. Across start finish line, stands up on the bike. He takes a race win, second race win of the weekend, and of course, he will be taking the championship lead. Luke Fitchett in 2nd spot, Blake Wilson in 3rd, rounding out your podium positions, and of course, it's going to be Ollie Sims who's leading the championship coming into this race. He will be coming across the line any second now. Ollie Sims in 4th spot, so that means that Archie Gibbs is now leading the championship by 6 points. We've got a rider down on the exit of turn number 2. Not quite sure who that is, but once again it's Archie Gibbs who takes the first position. We will give you an update on who the rider is. It's gone down after the checkered flag in a couple of seconds time.
Well, it's Archie Gibbs, the winner of that second AC40 Rookies race of the weekend. Luke Fitchett takes the next position. In 2nd place, got another rider going down at turn number 9. They're standing up and just by the bike, so they're about to restart it. So they haven't taken the checkered flag, so they do get underway, so that's all right. But Archie Gibbs, Luke Fitchett and Blake Wilson, that is your top 3. Ollie Sims, Marco Holt, your top 5 ahead of Brandon Keane. Luke Schofield, Casey Sperry, Harry Payne and Archie O'Brien is your top 10. Wilson Dilt, Jacob Stevenson, Joshua Williams, Thorley Trevorrow and Archie Carr in top 15 ahead of Bailey Lawrence, Callum Maxwell, Roman Ratcliffe. But highlights then of the second race of the weekend. Well, this is the second run of the second race. The AC40 Rookies do get underway, heading up towards turn 1 for the first time. A brilliant start by Archie Gibbs to take the lead and was never really challenged from that far. Luke Fitchett struggled off the line, dropped a couple of positions but did make it through. And continued on, and there the move being place. So Luke Fitcher confirmed in second place. Blake Wilson and Ollie Sims did scrap it out, but in the end they were quite distant away from each other as well. So it was a bit of a challenging race for our championship protagonists. The race season leader lost it in the first race by some miracle, managed to get it back out for the second race. Great battle though. Keane, Luke Schofield, Casey Sperry and company, they fought all the way through the race, overtaking corner after corner after corner, out onto circuit. And as they make their way through turns 1 and 2 once again, that was that race. And we'll be coming to the camera next. So it is the next race will be in the Mini GP70s here at Cool Fab, our premier class here. Mini GP70s head out onto circuit. Race 2 of the Mini GP70s head out onto circuit ahead of their warm-up lap. They're just getting the temperature into the tyres, making sure they know exactly where the grip is around the circuit. They are just getting ready for the race start. It's going to be a challenging one, a great battle in their first race of the weekend yesterday. They have 2 races like everyone else here today, but thank you for joining us. This is live coverage of round 4 of the 2019 Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bike Championships. It's Liam Hodges and Dan Marr in the commentary box. We're live from Lincolnshire, and the Mini GP70s will head out onto the circuit for their green flag lap in just a few moments time. So last minute checks being made for the riders, the marshals making sure everyone is ready and set. It's going to be a challenge for them really, with the temperature starting to rise once again. It is a tricky situation for them to be in. It's going to be a tricky one, but many of these young riders, of course, on the road to MotoGP and to the Bennett's British Superbike Championship. This is the last step in Cool Fab before many of our young riders head on to great things nationally and internationally. But the grid then for the second race of the weekend for the Mini GP70 grid.
So it's race 1's winner, Evan Belford, on bike number 52, will be leading away from pole position ahead of number 44, your championship leader, James Cook, who was on a red bike yesterday. He's on a black bike today, so keep an eye out for James Cook. Eddie O'Shea, third spot on the grid, was in fourth place yesterday ahead of Owen Mellor on bike 130. Ollie Walker from 5th place on bike number 48 ahead of Ryan Hitchcock on bike 43 on 6th place. Kyle Payne next up on bike 25 ahead of the 99 of Bailey Stewart Campbell from 8th place on the grid. Johnny Garness on bike number 57 is in 9th, and running out your top 10 is bike 69 of Harrison Crosby. Saffron Watley is next up on bike 178 on 11th spot in the grid. Row number 6 ahead of Emmanuel Brinton. Bike number 93, Sylvan Moundsey is next up on bike number 144 and 13th spot on the grid ahead of Alfie Davidson on 14th spot. On number 8, Dylan Mellor on bike 31 next up on row number 8, 15th spot on the grid ahead of Joe Farragher on 47. Thomas Gomez on bike number 98, 17th place on the grid ahead of Carter Brown on bike number 37, and rounding out the runners and riders for the start of the Mini GP70 race number 2 is Jamie Woodcock.
The riders with the grid then, and as they are getting the revs ready, the tension rises, the engine touches are at biting point. They look towards the green flag. It's not when it goes up, it's when it goes down. A little bit of a hold, and we are underway for the first time out of 14, a 14-lap race as they make their way through turn 1 for the first time. Emmanuel Brinton losing out a few positions as contact further down the field. It all got a bit tight and hairy going into turns 2 and 3 for the first time out of 14. Evan Belford leads, James Cook in second, third for Eddie O'Shea, so much the same as it was yesterday. 4th place, so a good start from the number 130 of Owen Mellor. So Owen Mellor in 4th. 5th place, it looks to be Ollie Walker with Ryan Hitchcock right up behind as well. And as they run out of the infield section, a very tight infield section, and through the final few corners over the line then for the first time. And it is the rider of Evan Belford leading from James Cook. Third place is going to be Eddie O'Shea, also holding on. So those three have broken away a little bit. Then it's Owen Mellor in fourth. Then in fifth place, it's Bailey Stewart Campbell with a good haul of riders behind him for company as well.
So the championship protagonists are out front. Evan Belford 17 points behind your championship leader James Cook. Belford was yesterday's race winner, but James Cook gave him a good hard battle all race through. You just mentioned Bailey Stewart Campbell there. Here is your new lap record holder for this Tattershall racecourse, a 44.860 he set yesterday, snatching that from the previous lap record of Casey O'Gorman from last year. But to come through to start lap number 3 is going to be Belford, Cook, O'Shea, Mellor, Bailey Stewart Campbell and Hitchcock in 6th spot. Great battle there. Johnny Garness on bike number 57, who's starting to get used to this Mini GP70 bike ever more as the season goes on, is now up to 7th spot, starting from 9th on the grid. Kyle Payne drops back to 8th. Harrison Crosby on bike 69 ahead of Ollie Walker, who was a race winner last time out. But we've got a move for first, not yet. It looks like James Cook made a move, but just dropping back as he thinks about it for the last couple of laps. But Eddie O'Shea is looking fantastic at the moment. The best we've seen from him for a number of races. All over the back of James Cook. Can we maybe see the race winner from round number 1 of races 2, 3 and 1, 2 and 3 picking up a win across start finish line again into turn number 1? Can we have Cook make a move on Belford?
Not quite. He's signalling, he's showing an intent in order to try and put a bit of pressure on him, but he can't make him do it at the moment. But Belford is in the lead. Second place at James Cook with the fastest lap, not by much, it's only by about 3 or 4 thousandths of a second, but every fine margin helps. Further back we've got battle for 4th, 5th and 6th. Bailey Stewart Campbell in 5th. Owen Mellor's been reeled in now, so it's a 4-bike battle including Ryan Hitchcock and Johnny Garness according to our timing screen. So as they make their way out of the infield section and onto the fast back straight run, the 3 race leaders are certainly making a move away from it. Over the line they go. It is Belford with a gap of 0.4 of a second. Then it's James Cook, Eddie O'Shea still third, but side by side for 4th place, Owen Mellor and Bailey Stewart Campbell having a move. Bailey Stewart Campbell into 4th place, 5th place for Owen Mellor, and now coming under pressure from Ryan Hitchcock, who ran so well in yesterday's conditions. He's not going to be sitting around for too much longer either. Into the infield hairpin section, the right, then the left, and then, or the left, right, and then left again. Turn 7, a very cambered part of the circuit. You've got to be oh so careful of putting the power down.
Ryan Hitchcock, as you said, is chasing the back of Owen Mellor. Oh, a bit of a move there.
Oh, when he's down. Two have gone down.
That's Hitchcock and Garness. Hitchcock and Garness are down. That was a moment that was started by Stuart Campbell. Owen Mellor had to set up, and then, of course, Hitchcock and Garness tagged the back of each other. We've still got Hitchcock down, but at the top of the field, fingers crossed that both riders are up and okay, but we've still got Belford leading the way from Cook. Belford has just set the fastest lap of the race. A new lap record from Belford, a 44.712. That's a new lap record taken off Stuart Campbell. James Cook is in 2nd and Eddie O'Shea in 3rd spot, Dan.
Yellow flags at turn number 9. One rider did get back underway of that. The other rider, it did stand up for a moment. So as the race continues, albeit with a yellow flag, at one of the better overtaking opportunities. Evan Belford taking this opportunity to make out an even bigger lead. It's 0.7, it's 1 second now with the fastest lap. It is 1 second ahead of James Cook. So James Cook coming under pressure from Eddie O'Shea, the number 114 rider, the white and green bike. Confidence coming back to Eddie, running in the British Talent Cup this season, so has got a bit of experience on these kind of bikes on the bigger circuits. So coming around here must be a bit of a maze really. He's probably like wandering around a park, but he's certainly challenging for 2nd place at the moment. 3rd place Eddie O'Shea, as we mentioned, Bailey Stewart Campbell and Owen Mellor. No change with Ollie Walker in 6th. Harrison Crosby, Kyle Payne, Emmanuel Brinton, despite the poor start, up into 9th place. Good run for Emmanuel, and Alfie Davidson in the top 10 with Saf Watley, Dylan Mellor, Sullivan Mounsley, Carter Brown and Thomas Gomez with 6 laps completed so far. That is the top 15.
Yeah, Ollie Walker, as you just mentioned, up to 6th spot. He's made a lot of progress in the last couple of laps. He was down to 11th at one point in this race, but he's back up to 6th spot. The number 48 rider, keep an eye out on him to see if he makes any progress further throughout the field. He's catching the back back of Owen Mellor at the moment. But Bailey Stewart Campbell is also trying to make inroads into second and third spot, James Cook and Eddie O'Shea. But as we say that, Eddie O'Shea's had a bit of a moment, maybe getting tangled up from a back marker there. It's given Cook a bit of breathing space at the moment with 7 and a bit laps remaining. But is Cook making inroads back into Belford? It looks like the gap is closed ever so slightly once again, coming across start-finish line to start another lap. We're looking at the lap times. Yes, it's down to 9 tenths. Cook was 2 tenths faster than Evan Belford that time round, and then Stuart Campbell trying to catch the back of Eddie O'Shea, who was 4 tenths quicker on that previous lap.
4 tenths quicker, that's a significant amount to close into, and he is actually catching Eddie O'Shea at quite a rate as well. Into the hairpin, turn number 4, and it is Eddie O'Shea. In fact, despite having that moment, I think maybe it's played with him a little bit, because the number 99 of Bailey Stewart Campbell is starting to close up. Evan Belford still leads this race. A couple of tenths a gap has closed in by on the last lap. It could decrease further. They've not actually encountered any further traffic in this race, so as they make their way over the line now. Great battle going on with the number 8 rider, Alfie Davidson, getting stuck in with Emmanuel Brinton. The fight with Saf Watley for 10th and 11th. They're making their way out of turn number 9 now and up towards the line. So as they cross the line now, Harrison Crosby is in 7th, 8th for Kyle Payne, Emmanuel Brinton 9th. That's the fight with Dylan Mellor in 12th, Alfie Davidson in 11th, and Saf Watley into 10th place. So a great run there by Saf at the moment.
Yeah, Saf Watley's made a move on Alfie Davidson on a previous lap. Davidson on bike number 8, you can distinguish that quite far away. But Saf Watley is showing great turn of pace after having to slap the fading yesterday as her bike broke down. As they come through the back marker, Saf Watley, Alfie Davidson 10th, 11th. Alfie Davidson gets pushed out wide by the back marker. The back marker didn't know that he was there, so he's lost a place to Dylan Mellor and all of that kerfuffle there, so he might drop back even more. I don't think Alfie Davidson is too happy, but once again the back marker tried to move out of the way but just didn't see that Alfie Davidson come round the outside. So 10th, 11th, 12th, as quick as you like there, and they're looking for an advantage. But as we come across start-finish line, once again we're looking back to the leaders, and of course Evan Belford is increasing that gap at the top of the field to 1.8 seconds now, so he's a half a second faster on that previous lap. So that is Evan Belford still leading the way as they come through the final turn across start-finish line. Can Eddie O'Shea maybe pounce on James Cook?
Well, he can't at the moment. He's not close enough. In fact, he's 1.7 seconds behind for third place, but the battle for fourth place is the one which is closing in exponentially. It was a few moments ago that Bailey Stewart Campbell was getting closed in by Owen Mellor. Now Owen Mellor is being caught up. There's a black flag gone out for someone. I couldn't see who that was.
I think that's Saf Watley. Saf Watley's pulling off the side to turn number 1. I don't know if it's got. It looks like the fading's quite low. Yes, it is. Another issue with the fading. It was. Yeah, so it looks like her fading's been hanging off. She's pulling into the pits. That's such a shame by Saf Watley, who was having a fantastic ride in this class.
So Saf Watley, it's a shame. She is now unfortunately out of this race, but not out of this race. Evan Belford, your race leader, 2.4 seconds now ahead of James Cook. We've got 3 laps to go, so not an awfully long time to go in this race. Eddie O'Shea still on the podium, only a second ahead of Bailey Stewart Campbell. Owen Mellor starting to be closed in by Ollie Walker, but Harrison Crosby also fighting away, making their way through the turns at turn number 4 up to the first hairpin. It is the 130 of Owen Mellor fighting for 5th place, but the leader Evan Belford aboard the all-black machine, the number 52, making his way further around the lap.
And of course it is Ollie Walker in 6th spot, trying to gain to the back of Owen Mellor for 5th and 6th there. Belford starts his final lap of the race through turn at number 1, right behind the back marker, but he's too far ahead of James Cook, so James Cook will not be able to make any inroads into the leader there. So we've got the leader Evan Belford in an all black bike with the white helmet coming down into turn number 5 hairpin. James Cook in a safe second. Eddie O'Shea looks like he won't be caught at all by Bailey Stewart Campbell in 3rd and 4th, but it's Owen Mellor in 5th, who's under increasing pressure from Ollie Walker. Now keep an eye on that battle, but Ollie Walker could make a move on your 5th place in the race leader. So as they come through the final turn, it's going to be Evan Belford through the final turn, across the start finish line. Evan Belford picks up race number 2. That is Belford with
It wasn't a checkered flag though. He's got another lap to go. So we've got one more to go. Not sure about that, but Evan Belford, well, you don't want to be counting your victory too early. We had that before in MotoGP when riders have stopped halfway through the lap only to realise, oh no. So luckily he carried on and wasn't listening to us. But Evan Belford with a masterful display of pace this weekend, 3.2 seconds ahead of James Cook, the number 52 rider. Evan loves this circuit and he's about to be rewarded by it with a checkered flag and another victory, Liam.
Yes, he will be. He's coming through turn number 9 at the moment. Over to 10. He's got a back marker in the way, but that doesn't matter. But this time round, he's picking up the checkered flag. Belford takes the race win ahead of James Cook, decreasing the championship lead down to 12 points from 17. James Cook finishes second. Eddie O'Shea picks up his first podium position for a while in third spot, holding off Bailey Stewart Campbell, Owen Miller in fifth spot, Ollie Walker sixth, Harrison Crosby, Kyle Payne and Emmanuel Brinton as quick as you like in 7th, 8th and 9th. And of course it's going to be Dylan Miller over the line, just holding off a big gaggle of riders. That is Alfie Davidson. Dylan Miller dropped back from 10th to 11th, so Alfie Davidson picks up a top 10. Sullivan Mounty in 12th, Thomas Gomez in 13th, and then of course Carter Brown and Saf Watley who got back into the race. Carter Brown in 14th, Saf Watley after fixing her fairing after pulling off into the pits is in 15th, rounding out your podium or your points finishers ahead of Joe Farragher and Johnny Garness, who crashed out with Ryan Hitchcock earlier on in the race, managed to remount but missed out on the points. Jamie Woodcock and Ryan Hitchcock, unfortunately your DNFs from the Mini GP 70s race number 2 here from Tattershall.
So highlights then of the Mini GP 70s race number 2. It was a great start for our pole position man Evan Belford. The Belford and James Cook fight yesterday. They looked towards the lights, the revs rose, and then they got underway. A clean start by everyone, a good start by Emmanuel Brinton. He was a little bit further back, but then a bit of contact in the midfield. A few riders looking to get unstuck, but as they carried on, making their way through the rest of the corners, then it was a good start by everyone. James Cook in second place, Eddie O'Shea in third. They started to battle away, but Owen Miller and Bailey Stewart Campbell having made the takes at the moment. Not bad for Ryan. Good result for Ryan. He certainly had a race to enjoy. Making their way through the final few corners. There was contact between two riders. They both went down. Both seemed to be alright, so they did get through that in the end, and luckily they seem to be alright. Continuing on with the race though, Bailey Stewart Campbell got away from Owen Miller in the end. They did have a few close moments, but that eventually managed to gap out. Saf Watley having a great run in the initial forms of the race, but then unfortunately had a black flag for a technical issue with her bike. Came back to the paddock to get it fixed, although as it was noted, that was the end of the second Mini GP 70 race of the weekend. So, well, you're giving us a wave. Let us know why you're waving.
Oh, I'm just happy to be here, you know. Coming back to my roots is where I grew up, and I'm, you know, just happy to be here. It's the first one for me. You know, I'm very happy to be back.
So just let our listeners know who you are, what you race, where are you racing now, as well as it's in Cool Fab paddocks. But
so my name's Max Kirk. I'm 16 years old from Swindon, and I now race in the Junior World Championship with the British Talent team, and also in the Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup. And no, I came up through FAB. I've been here, you know, for the 10 years that I've been racing, and without them, you know, I wouldn't be at this, you know, great position that I am right now.
And obviously we're part of the Road to MotoGP, so that's another great link which has really helped you, hasn't it?
Yeah, of course. I know this is, you know, recent, all this, and it's, you know, completely the right thing, and it's given the best chance for more British riders to come up into the GP.
And obviously that's something you're going to be looking forward to. Just let our viewers know, what did we do last year? Because I believe you're in British Talent Cup last year as well, so...
Yeah, last year I was, you know, in the first year of this British Talent Cup, and it's amazing how MotoGP and Dawn have recognised the lack of British riders, and, you know, to bring, 24, you know, riders an opportunity to race at the GP circuits, you know, for free, and, you know, it's just the best thing. And they've then seen my potential, and then they've put me up into the Junior World Championship this year. And so far, that's going pretty good. Not perfect just yet, but I'm definitely getting there.
But I suppose as a rider so young, it's got to be filling you with confidence knowing that you're being recognised already and they're helping you to develop your talent and your experience and really get you to where you want to be.
No, yeah, it's really good. I think, I've come up through the British route and, a lot of riders, like Scott Redden and Danny Kent, they go up through Spain, the Spanish Championship, and I've stayed here. And, I think that's definitely the way forward.
Obviously, like Scott Redding, obviously winning races in the Ducati not too long ago in the Bennett's British Superbikes. You've got Brad Ray here this weekend. Is that the direction you want to be going in, or...?
Yeah, 100%. I've always had my eyes on GP since I was like 6 years old, so, and that's the plan.
Well, it's been good to have you with us, Max. It's been great to see you. We'll probably drag you back in later on for another chat if you want to.
Yeah,
but,
no problem.
Great to have you here, and obviously great talent, and best of luck for the rest of the season.
No, thank you.
So, Max Cook there joining us in the commentary box. Thank you very much, Max. He's... We often get told he's a bit shy, but I don't believe that after what he's just spoken to us about. But as Liam just rejoins us, it's going to be another exciting race. This, though, will form in the AC40 Pros, their second race of the weekend. They just start to grid up, and we will get them out onto the circuit in just a moment. Some great action. Thank you for joining us. This is live coverage of round 4 of the 2019 Cool FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championships. And as everyone, Marshall just making sure all the bikes are ready to go. It's a bit of a challenge really to ensure that they are, but we'll be heading into the green flag lap in just a few moments time. Riders look ready and up to the lights, and as they get underway onto the green flag lap, how will they line up? Well, Liam is the man with the knowledge. How are they going to line up?
So it's going to be once again Mason Foster starting from pole position, your championship leader, and of course picking up his 9th win from 10 races yesterday afternoon. Can he make it 10 races from 11? So Ethan Sparks will be second on the grid on bike number 62 ahead of Clayton Edmonds. Bike 146, Samuel Munson on row number 2 on bike 72 in 4th spot. On row number 3 is going to be Henry McCartney on bike number 31 in 5th spot ahead of Warwick Brady on bike number 99. Greg Marshall next up on bike number 19 in 7th position on the grid, row number 4. That's going to be Finnan Werity on bike 110 on 8th place on the grid. Charlie Huntingford next up on bike number 76, 5th row on the grid in 9th spot ahead of Ruben Bray. That is bike 1212 in 10th spot. And rounding out the runners and riders for the start of this AC40 Pro race number 2 from round 4 here at Tattershall is going to be Max Werity.
So the riders making their way back onto the grid ahead of the 9-lap race for the AC40 Pros. The temperatures are soaring, the sun is shining, and we're loving the racing here at Tattershall. Hope you are at home too. Thank you very much for joining us live on the Cool FAB-Racing website and on Motorsport Radio. The green flag is about to be waved as they look to the line now. There's a bit of creeping, but we get underway. Good start by everyone. Heading into turn 1 for the first time. Side by side for second place. This is going to be quite close stuff. You want to be careful through turns 2 and 3 for this first lap, where everyone in such close proximity. It could be the result of something bad happening, but the race leader Mason Foster having got away very well, as we seem to be accustomed to at the moment. Second, third and fourth being quite well contested though. Ethan Sparks and Samuel Munson up there for the time being. Samuel Munson having a bit of trouble yesterday, didn't have the best of days, but certainly looking to make it a much better one today, Liam.
Yes, absolutely. Fingers crossed that Samuel Munson can make a much better race of this one. As you said, the race wasn't too good for him. But Mason Foster leading the way as they come across start-finish line to complete lap number 1. I think they actually have to put some ballast on Mason Foster's bike to try and bring him back towards the rest of the bunch. But looking down the field, it's Mason Foster on the way. Clayton Edmonds in a battle for second, third and fourth. There's about a gap of nearly 2 seconds to the first position of Mason Foster. Second and third embroiled in a great battle. Will there be a move up the inside? Yes, there will be. That is, of course, the number 72 rider of Samuel Munson, the Munson burner, making it into second spot through the tight and twisty section of the track, through the cambered left-hander. He's just ahead of number 62 of Ethan Sparks, Clayton Edmonds on bike 146. They had a bit of a crash on the green flag lap yesterday, but seems to be all okay. Continuing on in this race in 4th spot. Will it be a move into turn 10? Not quite. They come through the fast right-hander across the finish line again to tick off another lap into turn number 1. Will it be a change for second? Yes, it will be. It'll be Ethan Sparks. And is, of course, Clayton Edmonds nearly tags the back of Munson. Has Munson got a problem with his bike? Yes, he does. He's looking down. He's pulling off towards the edge of the circuit. Will he pull into the pits? No, he's thought to himself he can continue on. That's horrible for Samuel Munson, who's pulling off the edge of the circuit. He was in second. Bike issue there has pulled him out of this race, Dan.
So just as we said, throws the bike to the floor, clearly not very happy with that, but another problem for Samuel Munson. Unfortunately, his weekend doesn't get much better. Fingers crossed he'll be out for the third AC40 Pro race this weekend later on this afternoon. But Mason Foster not worrying about such things at the moment, really just gone off into the distance very happily. Second place then confirmed as Ethan Sparks, 4.3 seconds behind Mason Foster after just 2 laps. Clayton Edmonds third, ahead of Henry McCartney, and Mike Brady in 5th place. Finn and Werity in 6th ahead of Charlie Huntingford. Greg Marshall ahead of Ruben Bray. They had some fantastic fights in the rookies last season. Max Werity in the 10th position. So the battle for second closing in again. Edmonds versus Sparks. This is where they are. The second of the 3 hairpins, left, then right, then left again. They've got to get a reasonably good drive out of the corner, which Clayton Edmonds seemed to do. Ethan Sparks in second place over the line. It was 62 ahead and is still 62 ahead of Ethan Sparks for second place. The gap now extending to about 0.8 of a second, so it's by no means close, but it's by no means distant. There's still time. Completed, 6 to go. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen indeed, but I think it's going to take a miracle to topple Mason Foster from the lead of this race. 5.4 seconds is the gap between Foster and Sparks in first and second, but it's the battle for third we're keeping an eye on for the moment. Edmonds chasing down Sparks at 62, just ahead of the 146 rider, and of course there was a bit of a couple of tenths of a second between both riders on the previous lap there, as Edmonds is trying ever so hard to catch the back of Sparks. A movement under braking into turn number 9, a very tricky right hand corner as one track crosses into another track. A bit of a bump as they go from the left to the right, unsettling the bike, but the riders manage to control that. And of course a bump over the crest into turn number 1, unsettling the bike as well. So a very bumpy track here at Tattershall, giving the riders a big challenge to try and control the bikes as they try and master this very tight and twisty circuit.
Which isn't helped by the fact these are such small bikes. They have very, very sensitive stuff like bumps, so going over them, as you mentioned, it's so tricky for them to hold on to it. We've had a few mistakes for riders. It looks like Samuel Munson is returning to the circuit to get back on. So it's Samuel Munson coming around the final few corners. So good to have Samuel restarting into this race. A shame that he had the technical problem to begin with, but good news that he was able to continue heading over the line now. So rejoined in 11th place. No real chance to make up any positions, I'm afraid, but Mason Foster now 7.5 seconds ahead of Ethan Sparks in second place. He's almost a second clear of Clayton Edmonds for third place as well. Henry McCartney and Warwick Brady are top 5 at the halfway stage, with Finn and Werity, Charlie Huntingford and Greg Marshall in the top 8 ahead of Ruben Bray and Max Werity.
It's good that Samuel Munson's back into the race, because obviously if he can complete a certain amount of race distance, there will be points up for grabs. There's only 11 riders in this race, so they can pick up 5 points for 11th spot in the race, and of course it gives them a bit of practice and a test to see if the bike will break again ahead of race number 3 a little bit later on this afternoon. Now Clayton Edmonds looks like he's catching back up to the back of Sparks on bike number 62, coming across the line to tick off another lap. We'll see the lap times. Yes, he does. He's taken 3 tenths out of Ethan Sparks for second and third, so the gap is now down to 6 tenths of a second. They're 8.5 seconds off your race leader, championship leader Mason Foster, is in a commanding spot to extend his championship lead with only 2.5 laps remaining of this race. Can Edmonds make a move on Sparks? Can Sparks hold off the ever advancing pressure from the 146 rider?
The luminous green leathers of Clayton Edmonds closing in on the number 62 through the third part of the hairpin complex onto the faster runs down towards turn number 9. They get good traction. He's in the slipstream, so he has got the advantage of being able to close in just a little through the back straight over the line. 2 laps to go for them. 2 more laps into turn 1 and no closing in for Clayton Edmonds. He's got them covered where they are able to really follow each other and keep up with each other, but not enough to really change the pace. But they've got another rider in this race they're just getting past, which has really held up the pair of them. Clayton Edmonds looking right around the outside into turn number 4. He has made the move, so Clayton Edmonds, having played a very patient waiting game, is now into second place. Ethan Sparks caught the other rider just at the wrong moment and will be absolutely furious. And within all of this, Mason Foster due to come over the line to start his last lap. That is how far away they are. Mason Foster starts the last lap.
Yeah, 10 seconds ahead of this bunch for second and third. Coming through the final turn. Can we have a move for second and third? Coming across our finish line, nose to tail between Edmonds and Sparks into turn number 1. Will Sparks make a move on Edmonds into turn 1 out of a commentary box window? Not yet, but Sparks runs a little bit wide through the fast turn left, right hander, not doing it just yet, but we've got Mason Foster extending his advantage at the top of the field through the tight and twisty section of the circuit. Will he be making it 10 races out of 11? It looks like it as he heads through turn number 8 into 9. The left hander, then the right hander out accelerating, but looking back to second and third. They're still making a move there, but across start finish line any second now through the fast right-hander. Over the line it's Mason Foster, 10 races from 11 in the 2019 AC40 Pro Championship. Second and third coming across the line into the final turn. Can Sparks make a move on Edmonds? No, he can't. It's Edmonds who takes the checkered flag in front of Sparks, waving his fist in the air. That was a great battle for second and third between the young riders there. And of course, we've got Henry McCartney in fourth spot. A very quiet race for Henry there. Max Wedderty comes across the line, taking 10th spot. A top 10 finish for Max there on bike 110. And of course, a big movement from 76. Of course, Charlie Huntingford nearly lost the front as he went through the turn 9. Cross start finish line. It's going to be Huntingford from Marshall, 7th and 8th. What a battle. Huntingford done everything in his power to hold on that. Must have lost some fillings if he had any as the bike was shaking through the turn 9 hairpin.
Well, out of the turn 9 hairpin, just got a good run out of it, but he just about made it through. Mason Foster though, there was no doubt at all. 11.967 seconds was the gap between himself and Clayton Edmonds in second place. The result was never really any real highlights for the AC40 pros. The green flag got underway for the first lap out of 9. Make their way down towards the first few corners. Mason Foster already got a good start. That was all he needed to do, and then shot off into the distance. Good start by 76. Samuel Munson also made a good start. Was up there for contention for the podium. And unfortunately, problem with the bike meant he couldn't really get on, but fighting hard, as he always does, up the inside into turn number 4, making a move on Ethan Sparks. But then all the problems started to go wrong for him. Into the braking zone, no real drive. Unfortunately, heading back into the paddock, but tried to go back into the paddock, couldn't. Thought he could continue, but then had to pull off on the side of the circuit. One of the marshals goes over to help get the bike restarted. He did throw the bike down a little bit, so perhaps the handlebar when he stopped, and clearly frustrated the young rider. They're not too happy with that, but continue. Mason Foster continue racing along, but Clayton Edmonds and Ethan Sparks a bit of a tete-a-tete, but nonetheless they didn't make a change though for Mason Foster. Took the victory. Second place went to Clayton Edmonds, who made a good move on Ethan Sparks. Can't really beat him ahead of Henry McCartney and Warwick Brady. But thank you for joining us. This is live coverage of round 4 of the 2019 Cool FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championships.
Cool FAB-Racing, the official BSB partner series, and on the road to MotoGP. Racing, the official BSB Bike Series. Road to MotoGP.
You're joining us for live coverage of the 2019 FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championship from round number 4 here at Tattershall in Lincolnshire. We've just had the AC40 Pro class for their second race of the weekend, and as you can see, it's the Pit Bike 140 and Moto Team class lining up for the start second race of the weekend. I've got race number 3 coming up a little bit later on in the afternoon. So as all riders line up, we're going to have the start of the green flag. The marshals are just telling the riders where to go, pointing that all riders are in the right position and finding out which ones are which. So as we can see, the sun is still trying to break through the clouds. The track temperature will be heating up, but not quite as much as the race will be heating up out there on circuit. So as the riders make their way around the green flag lap, it's going to be Jamie King leading off pole position on bike number 76. Harvey, who was leading the race yesterday before and off, but remounted to third spot, will be in second place ahead of Charlie Nesbitt on bike number 86. Will Howarth will be next up on bike number 96 in fourth place ahead of Brad Ray, the British Superbike rider. Brad Ray on bike number 28. Richard Holmes Williams on bike 126 will be sixth place on the grid ahead of Matthew Bolsover, bike 421. Ashley Midwood on bike 26 in the 8th spot on the grid on row number 4 ahead of Ian Jackson on bike number 7 on the 5th row. Tom Ward on bike 21 will be running at the top 10 on the starting grid ahead of Simon Clowes, the Moto Team Championship leader on bike 133. Bernie Hook next up in 12th spot. Sean Whittaker in 13th on bike number 12 ahead of Fraser Kinnaird and Daniel Gilbert 14th and 15th on the grid. Jason Pugh on bike number 8 will be in 16th place ahead of Neil Kinnaird on bike number 83 ahead of Alistair Kinnaird on bike 5 on 80th spot on the grid. Bike 111 of Roger Monks is 19th, just ahead of 369 of Vince Bailey on 20th spot, and Iona Glover with some retro looking leathers out there, looking really good, very fashionable. Bike 134 is heading row number 11 on 21st spot on the grid.
The riders line up. We'll have to come back to you for some fashion tips. They do look very nice. They are very nice leathers, and sort of yellow and blue leathers. But the riders aren't concerned with that. They're concerned with the race start. They look to the green flag. Up it goes. A little bit of creeping, but we are underway. Here we go, into the first corner for the first time. Jamie King makes a great start. Second place for Harvey Claridge. Clearly that cardboard cutout fairings for him are working well with the aerodynamic devices, but Jamie King leads ahead of Harvey Claridge. Harvey Claridge, so with a lot of momentum and doesn't want to concede the position. Side by side for third and fourth. And right behind them, that's the number 86 rider, Charlie Nesbitt, who wasn't on the grid yesterday, I don't believe, but he is in this one now, so he's here and is looking to race. Brad Ray in fourth place, so pretty talented top four, you must say, and Brad's going to be fired up after a few moments earlier on in the day, but they're all heading up towards the line for the first time out of 12 laps. It's going a long race, and Harvey Claridge isn't waiting around though, looking up the inside into turn number 1, attacking and defending all at the same time. 4 bikes astern, and it is Jamie King, Harvey Claridge, then it's followed by Charlie Nesbitt and Brad Ray, but Charlie Nesbitt up the inside at turn number 3, makes the move up the inside quite cleanly and is through. So Charlie Spud Nesbitt, as he's affectionately known, is up into second place.
Yes, he is, and he was doing it with the bike shaking all over the place, so very nearly lost the front as he made the move on Harvey Claridge. But look back into fifth spot on the Moto Team bike, who picked up the overall race win yesterday, the first overall race win for a Moto Team bike of the year. But look, it's a championship leader. Jay King is still leading the way, but he's got Spud Nesbitt all over the back. Charlie Nesbitt will be hoping to make a move, but across start firstly, Will Howarth, Brad Ray, Harvey Claridge late on the brakes. Will be Brad Ray in the third spot? Yes, will be pushing Claridge out the way there. Claridge will not be happy with that one. That was a bit of an aggressive move, but that's Brad Ray up in the third spot. We've got a change of lead very nearly from Charlie Nesbitt. Once again, he tried to make the move around the outside. Will he make it into turn number 4? Not quite. He's looking every way. Jay King, very good defensive ride, but it looks like Charlie Nesbitt, Brad Ray, Harvey Claridge will be making any move possible to make a move past the championship leader with any moment now.
Jamie King stands the bike up, he just places it in the middle of the road, just holding him off. Brad Ray now right up the back of Charlie Nesbitt, clearly not happy with being behind them anymore. he's not really a fan of sitting behind other riders. Does like an overtake, does Brad. Up the inside, looking to Ryder's right-hand side into turn number 1. Can't make the move on Charlie Nesbitt, and Will Howarth was attacking Harvey Claridge to no effect, but it's a 5-bike battle for the race lead so far, including yesterday's overall race winner, Will Howarth, who won aboard the Moto Team machine, a very rare thing in the Cool Fab paddocks. But Jamie King soaking up all the pressure. He's really loving this. He loves having a great fight with some of these really talented young riders, and he's really showing them that youth doesn't always mean you've got the pace and also the overtaking ability. Brad Ray looks over his left shoulder, making sure no one's behind him, but Charlie Nesbitt's got a very interesting start. You mentioned a moment ago how the bike was squirreling away under him. Well, Brad, the way he rides, likes a very squared off bike, whereas Charlie can dance a bike in any old angle and just about stick it. Will Howarth under attack. He's not making it through. Charlie is also attacking the race leader. No effect as of yet.
Yes, absolutely. But look at Charlie Nesbitt. He's going for a move, not quite doing it just yet. He's practicing indeed on J King. J King will know he's there, but once again, he might not try it into turn number 3 at some point during this race. He might try and do it somewhere else where J King might not be expecting it. As we saw at the start of this lap here, Brad Ray was looking over his shoulder just to see who was in this race, this lead battle with him, as he saw Claridge and Will Howarth, yesterday's race winner, in this battle. But as you put it very nicely, Charlie Nesbitt is just dancing that bike round this racetrack here at Tattershall in Lincolnshire. Across the start finish line, they'll come any second now to tick off another lap. Brad Ray looks behind the guy, sees Harvey Claridge, but Will Howarth is going to mug them both into turn number 1. They haven't done it yet, but Harvey Claridge still holds forth, but Will Howarth has to brake very deep on the brakes to try and keep them both behind. But Jamie King is wise to it. He knows that Charlie Nesbitt is going to try and go round the outside into turn number 3, so he's decided to start blocking it. Once again, Charlie Nesbitt looking everywhere, ducking and diving, trying to find a way past your championship leader Jamie King.
Well, Jamie King, he's held on for 4 laps so far. We've got 8 to go, so you feel he may well be able to hold on for a little bit longer. It's Will Howarth with the fastest lap out of curiosity, but up the inside, and he's gone through. Charlie Nesbitt did send a very late move up the inside at turn number 9, although he may have overcooked it. Jamie King on the inside for turn 10, the final corner, leads over the line. Charlie Nesbitt under attack from Brad Ray. Brad Ray under attack from Harvey Claridge. Harvey Claridge under attack from Will Howarth, and they've got another rider in this race they've got to get past. So it's all coming to a head through turns 2 and 3, snaking their way around. Jamie King is just placing the bike to absolute perfection, side by side for Charlie Nesbitt around the outside. Can he do it into turn 4? He looks for the mechanical grip, but the bike can't give any. Brad Ray's now well and truly up in there, was in second briefly, now back to third. It is absolutely nose to tail stuff here. You couldn't put anything between them, and Jamie King, J King, is just soaking up the pressure. Charlie Nesbitt nearly sends another thing. He makes a bit of a mistake. He nearly lost it on the power. Brad Ray does not need asking twice. He is straight through like a rocket and is defending vigorously now. So side by side between 28 and 86. 28 is ahead, so into second place. Charlie Nesbitt down to third. Harvey Claridge is watching all this, learning all of this and thinking, well, I'll make a move like that in a moment. And also Will Howarth sitting here thinking, well, if all of these guys are going to make a mistake, I'm going to be the one that's going to be taking the spoils.
Yes, he's sitting 5th at the moment, but he could end up winning this race if the riders take each other out. This is like a Moto 3 race. Everything is just very close. Any rider that makes a mistake, they could go from 1st back to 5th spot, but now Brad Ray's the one putting all the pressure on your championship leader J King into turn number 9. We did see a moment from Charlie Nesbitt last lap. He's back in the 3rd spot, but great run out of the turn 9 hairpin from Brad Ray through the fast turn right-hander, the final turn on this course. But look, looking over his shoulder, he sees that Charlie Nesbitt's right behind him. Late on the brakes, will Charlie Nesbitt make a move up the inside? Not doing it just yet, but J King still leading the way here, soaking up all the pressure from the big names behind him. Brad Ray 2nd, Nesbitt 3rd, Claridge 4th, Will Howarth, yesterday's race winner, in 5th position, defending like his life depends on it.
And his life does depend on it, because his overall standard is going to be so much more increased and higher profile because of these riders around them. We've got 5 laps to go, well, 4 1/3 laps to go now It is King, Ray, Nesbitt, Claridge and Will Howarth, top 5. There are other riders in this race, I must stress. Matthew Bolsover in 6th ahead of Ashley Midwood. Ian Jackson, Simon Clowes and Tom Ward are your top 10. Ahead of Fraser Kinnaird, Sean Whittaker, Callum Wybrow and Neil Kinnaird and Jason Pugh. That's the top 15 overall. Brad still in 2nd. He has a bit of a nudge from Charlie Nesbitt. He loses out, so Charlie Nesbitt back into 2nd place after a little bit of a tete-a-tete between the pair of them, and is back into the trap of Harvey Claridge. Harvey Claridge in 4th place. Nesbitt for a 3rd place. Brad wasn't going to be very happy there, but what happened, Liam?
It looked like he actually lost the rear end coming out of the turn 1 pin. Back end stepped out. He was on the dirty part of the circuit, but then it was Charlie Nesbitt that barged his way up. They said they're coming through a lot of back markers now. Now the back markers, there's quite a lot of them to get through. Can Charlie Nesbitt place himself perfectly to try and push past Jay King? Not quite through the fast turn right-hander to start off. Another lap, 3 to go now into turn number 1. Can Jay King hold the lead? Yes, he can. Now it looks like he's got himself a back marker in between himself and Charlie Nesbitt. He has. He's using the back markers to absolute perfection here. He pushes one of them off the circuit. They're moving out of the way, but Charlie Nesbitt is back on the rear end of Jay King. Charlie Nesbitt has got a bit of a gap back to Brad Ray, Harvey Claridge and Will Howarth, who have been held up massively by the back markers here. The motor team riders who are of course in their own race and doing a great job out there on circuit, but these pit bike 140 bikes are barging their way through with 2 and a bit laps to go.
Into turn 9, the second last corner. It's still nose to tail between Jamie King and Charlie Nesbitt. He almost reached out to pat him on the back, saying, come on mate, get out of the way. Over the line they go, 2 laps to go. Jamie King, the number 76, still leads this race. 2nd place for Charlie Nesbitt. Brad Ray in 3rd, only just Harvey Claridge did have a look up the inside into turn 1, but thought better about it, couldn't quite keep the momentum going. But Charlie Nesbitt, the man with the consistency, the man with the name and the skill and the bravery, tries to go right around the outside at turn number 4. He can't make it work with the cutback still around the outside. Left, right and left again. The infield section is so tight and twisty, he just can't make the right move at the right time. But they have got Iona Glover in front of them. They're just going to get past, but he's up the inside. Charlie Nesbitt did have a look for the race lead up the inside of the second last corner into the final corner to take the final lap flag. There's 1 lap right over his right shoulder. Charlie Nesbitt's having a look. Jamie King is going deep into turn 1. He's tempting fate a bit, but Charlie Nesbitt hasn't got much time to really do it. He thrusts his body square onto the bike, so much lower down and taut than Jamie King. He's looking up the inside, almost makes contact into turn 3, into the hairpins for the final time. Could this be a late race move for the race lead? They're side by side into the second hairpin. He's going to have to keep the momentum going, but I fear that maybe Charlie Nesbitt's going to have to do a do-or-die lunge into the final 2 corners, Liam.
He's going to go for it into turn number 9. Jay King knows he's there, late on the brakes, had to slam on the brakes. Jay King perfectly blocked the inside line, looks over his shoulder from Charlie Nesbitt, shows Brad Ray the number 2 sign, says I'm in 2nd, you're in 3rd, and of course that is Jay King coming across the line, taking the race wing ahead of Charlie Nesbitt. What an absolute brilliant finish there from Jay King and Charlie Nesbitt. Brad Ray picks up 3rd spot. In actual fact, he was pushed back down to 4th there. Harvey Claridge picks up his 2nd, 3rd spot of the weekend there. So that was Brad Ray pushed back to 4th spot behind Harvey Claridge, who picked up a brilliant podium position. Will Howarth, yesterday's race winner, couldn't put a glove on the top 4, but once again the motor team rider showing great pace, managing to hold up there with the number 28, 16, 86 and 76 riders from the pit bike 140 category. Further down the field is Matthew Bolsover, picked up some important championship positions and points on bike 421 with the 6th spot ahead of Ashley Midwood. Ian Jackson in 8th position on bike number 7, Tom Ward in 9th spot, and rounding out the top 10 is your Moto Team Championship leader Simon Clowes. Fraser Kinnaird was next up on bike number 3, Sean Whittaker 12th spot on bike number 12, Callum Wybrow on bike number 67 was in 13th, Jason Pugh on bike number 8 and 14th, and rounding out the points finishers was Neil Kinnaird on bike number 83.
So that rounds out your points finishers, and we've got the highlights to come now. There is a lot of highlights because it was such a good race, but we're currently running 20-1 as the race highlights are now on for the junior Hit by 140 Moto Team. 2 minutes of highlights. Can you imagine that? It's a very long race, that one, but a great start by everyone. Got through cleanly, and well, it all got quite entertaining from there. Good start by Jamie King, side by side initially between Brad Ray and Charlie Nesbitt. Charlie Nesbitt had certainly had a good run. Will Howarth getting the winner of Moto Team had certainly got a good race. Harvey Clammer's got a bit budged by Brad Ray, probably but too fast at the end of that. It's following the two riders in front, the number 86 of Charlie Nesbitt and the number 76 Jay King. He's going to be extremely happy with that. He'll certainly be posting about that on social media today, and we do look forward to seeing that and more. Please let us know how much you enjoyed that race on the live stream here at Cool Fab Racing Round 4 of the 2019 Championships. We're live on the Cool Fab Racing website, on motorsport.radio and on social media. Thank you very much for joining us and sending us in your comments so far. It's been great to have them. We'll be reading out a few of them very soon, I hope. Side by side again for Charlie Nesbitt, a big lunge up the inside by Brad Ray. A bit of a mistake for Charlie Nesbitt. You didn't need to let Brad in again. He certainly sat in second place for a long time, but eventually Charlie said, you know what, never mind, I don't need to do this. I'm just going to come past you. I'm going to go for the race win, and if you don't want to be bothered, then don't want to be bothered. Over the line with a few laps to go, the pressure was on. Charlie Nesbitt retook second place, and then he had to hold on to second place. He nearly took the race victory, but as they came over the line for the final time, they both look over the right shoulders, over the line, and that was that. A great result for Jamie King.
Now we've got the start of the LC40 Elite race number 2 from round 4 here at Tattershall. I've got Mason Foster who from pole position, finished second in yesterday's race number 1. It's his championship rival Johnny Garness on bike number 57 will be starting in second. He picked up yesterday's race 1 win. As in third place on the grid is the number 93 of Emmanuel Brinton. Samuel Munson on bike number 72 will be in 4th spot. Ronnie Harris on bike number 66 is in 5th on the 3rd row of the grid, ahead of Josh Bannister, the number 2, on 6th place. Bike 146 of Clayton Edmonds will be next up in 7th place on the grid, ahead of Ethan Sparks, who gave us a great battle in the AC40 Pros a little bit earlier on today. And Cameron Sewell will be next up on bike 100 and 9th place on the grid on row number 5, ahead of Charlie Huntingford on bike number 76. Henry McCartney is next up on number 31 in 11th spot. Warwick Brady on bike number 99 in 12th. Greg Marshall next up on bike number 19 and 30th place on the grid, ahead of Finn and Werity and Ruben Bray on bike 12, 12 and 15th place. And riding out the runners and riders for the LC40 Elite race number 2 is Max Werity.
So the riders get ready for the race start. They are going to look forward to the second junior LC40 Elite race of the weekend. They look towards the green flag starter. It will be raised nice and high up in the air. It goes down and we are underway. A 9-lap race here for the junior LC40 Elite. They all barrel their way into turn 1 for the first time. Looks like it's a clean start by everyone. No one down at turn 1. That's what we like to have. But Johnny Garness is ahead of Mason Foster. How many times have we said that over the last few seasons? Into turn number 4. For the first time, it's the red bike ahead of the green bike. That is Johnny Garness and Mason Foster. 3rd place, still being fighting out quite well by Samuel Munson, the number 72 rider, hopefully with the problem sorted he had encountered in the previous race, and hopefully a bit better luck for them. But over the line, or over the last few corners, and to come over the line now for the first time, it is Johnny Garness ahead of Mason Foster.
Now we're looking at Cameron Sewell. They're a very Dayglow looking bike. They're a very nice looking bike, but into turn number 1, have we got a change of lead? Will Mason Foster make a move up the inside? Not doing it just yet. Johnny Garness still holds the lead from Mason Foster as they go through turns 2 and 3. Just like what we saw yesterday, Johnny Garness in first, Mason Foster chasing him down. Now these are the two championship protagonists, first and second. Johnny Garness has picked up the majority of race wins so far this season. Mason Foster has challenged him very hard in every single race, but as we can see, Mason Foster is very good on acceleration out of the corners and very quick down the main straight, but Johnny Garness very late on the brakes through the tight and twisty section of the track. This could be shaping up to be an absolute cracker, just like yesterday's race was. So coming through the final turn to tick off another lap, it's Garness. Foster coming across start finish line, making a move into turn number 1. Will Foster be doing it? Just having a little look at the moment. Garness holding position, so the positions stay the same. We've got a yellow flag out. We've got a rider stopped at the exit of turn number 8, just at the bottom end of the circuit. That looks like the rider there is up and okay. Not sure if it's a bike issue, but at least the rider is up and okay at the moment. So that's Josh Bannister out of the race. It's unfortunate for Josh Bannister, started 6th on the grid. Josh Bannister is out of this race at the moment.
Well, a shame for Josh Bannister. There's also a great battle going on for 3rd and 4th place at the moment. Samuel Munson fighting with Emmanuel Brinton. Emmanuel's final race weekend, we are told, here at Cool Fab Racing. It would be great to have Emmanuel back with us very soon, but in 3rd place, a good podium would be a good result for him so far. Race lead, Garness versus Mason Foster, 6/10 of a second. They're not as close as they have been previously. Emmanuel Brinton confirmed in 3rd ahead of Samuel Munson. Munson's about 4/10 behind, but it's only a couple of machine lengths the speed of these bikes into turns 2 and 3. Right over to the left-hand side of the circuit at 2, stays over for 3, keeps the momentum going, keeps it working well for him. Munson in 4th, Clayton Edmonds starting to close into this battle in 5th as well. The number 2 machine of Josh Bannister's is being recovered, so hopefully they can get that back on the way. The race continues, 7 laps to go, and it's still the battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th, which is closing up very nicely. But Ronnie Harrison 6th, Cameron Saul 7th ahead of Charlie Huntingford, Finn and Werity and Ruben Bray are top 10 ahead of Greg Marshall and Max Werity. The point Liam raised in an earlier race in the AC40 Pros is if you continue going, you're still entitled to points. If you go past the distance, the minimum distance, you can still get points, and points mean prizes, don't they? So it's going to be important. But Johnny Garness 1.1 seconds ahead of Mason Foster. That for now seems to be a bit sewn up.
Yes, it's a completely different race to yesterday's one, Dan, where we had Garness versus Foster and they were embroiled on a heated battle on track. So Garness is pulling away from Foster, but the battle for 4th and 5th is the one we need to keep an eye out on now. Samuel Munson leads Clayton Edmonds, bike 72. Munson, bike 146 of Edmonds. Now it looks like Edmonds he make a move into turn number 9, not doing it just yet. Now it looks like Edmonds is very quick through the fast section, but with Munson, it pulls away just through the tight and twisty section, but coming across start finish line to tick off another lap for 4th and 5th. Will Edmonds look up the inside into turn number 1, late on the brakes, over the bumps, not doing it just yet, slotting back into 5th position for Edmonds, just behind Munson. But this is a track that sort of requires a different set of lines from runners and riders to try and find the best, fastest way around the Tattershall racecourse.
And that's quite a strange thing, because a lot of modern circuits are very one-line circuits, and you can't really deviate from that. But because of the way this circuit flows, and cameras and bumps and everything else, you are allowed that opportunity to really make it up as you go along. And I think that's a great thing for these young riders to learn a skill, because if you ever need the skill, it's really useful to have. And of course, as we are part of the official partner series to the BSB, and on the road to MotoGP, these young riders undoubtedly will need those kind of skills going forward. But Garness is still ahead of Mason Foster. Foster's closing up though, fastest lap on that last lap, 47.364. So he is closing up. Manuel Brinton still 3rd, 4th and 5th though, Munson and Edmonds. That's still very close going into turn 3. Munson holding on, not for much longer though. Clayton Edmonds looks up the inside into turn 4, does think better about it though, and with 4 laps to go, they have got to start getting a bit of a skate on about it.
You're absolutely right there. He has not too much longer left of this race. Edmonds having a little bit of a moment over the bumps coming through the hairpin, but as we look at our commentary box window, the gap is closing between Garness and Foster. Another new fast lap from Foster, 47.3. Garness's lead is down to 6/10 of a second. Has Mason Foster been very conservative in this pack and tried to conserve his size? But 4th and 5th, Edmonds up the inside of Munson, not doing it just yet. This is a battle that's going to go down to the final lap, and of course Edmonds looks up the inside every single time, holds a very tight line into these corners, which gives him great a great opportunity to look up the inside of Munson through the tight and twisty section of the track. But going in towards turn number 9 as your race leaders, and it looks like the gap is continuing to close down between your race leaders coming into turn 10, the final corner on the track. Garness and Foster coming across start finish line now. That gap has definitely come down. It's half a second now with only 2 laps remaining, Dan.
And with 2 laps remaining, the gap comes down. That's important because they're using that time as effectively as they can. They had to get past a couple of other riders in this race, and now that the rhythm's really getting in for them, it's going to be a challenge. But Johnny Garness has been in this situation before where he can defend well and knows how to put the pressure on. It is still, though, Garness ahead of Mason Foster, but this is setting up to be a great last lap battle. In terms of the timing for everyone else, Emmanuel Brinton remains in third, quite lonely. Samuel Munson is just ahead of Clayton Edmonds, only just holding on, but Edmonds has managed to get past according to what's happening out there. Edmonds is through, so now into 4th place, and they're catching Emmanuel Brinton. But over the line, it was side by side between our 2 leaders. Over the line, and Mason Foster goes through at turn number 1, right round the outside. They're side by side, though. Mason Foster, the number 88 machine, is ahead of Johnny Garness into turns 2 and 3 for the final time. He's going to let off the brakes, though. Johnny Garness right up the inside again, much as he did yesterday, into the hairpins for the final turn. Turn 4 left, turn 5 right, turn 6 then left again. It's a real case of conserving your momentum.
New lap record there for Mason Foster as he tried to catch Johnny Garness. Now can Mason Foster hold the back of Johnny Garness through turn 9 because he's faster out of this corner and across the start finish line? Johnny Garness still leads the way towards turn 10. The fast right hand, the final corner in the circuit will be Garness, will be Foster. Garness holds it just ahead of Mason Foster. Only 7/100ths of a second between your top 2 in the race and the championship. Garness soaked up that pressure after he lost the lead at the start of the final lap, pushed back up the inside, and coming across the line, 3rd and 4th, that is going to be Edmonds and of course Munson. So 4th and 5th position there. Great battle on track between Munson and Edmonds. Edmonds just holds it to take a 4th spot. They both just missed out on the final podium position, which was taken by Emmanuel Brinton. We've got another few runners and riders coming through the start finish line. That's going to be Cameron Sewell in 7th, ahead of Charlie Huntingford and Finnan Werity. So Johnny Garness takes the race win, 7/100ths of a second ahead of championship rival Mason Foster. Another great track, a bit of a different battle on track between the 2 championship protagonists. Emmanuel Brinton in 3rd position in the race, running at your podium spots. Clayton Edmonds just holding off Samuel Munson for 4th and 5th. Ronnie Harris in 6th, Cameron Sewell in 7th. Charlie Huntingford, it was an 8th spot. Finnan Werity in 9th, Ruben Brea in 10th. Then we've got Greg Marshall in 11th, Max Werity and Josh Bannister were the 2 that unfortunately retired from the LC40 Elite Race number 2. So we've got a couple of highlights coming up, and it was Mason Foster starting on pole position ahead of Johnny Garness at the head of the field. As the green flag went down, it was a great start by Johnny Garness, once again moving into the lead of the race ahead of Foster into turn number 1. There was a lot of battles going on through the field. Josh Bannister getting a good start moving up. We had Clayton Edmonds, Cameron Sewell and the likes moving down, but it was Mason Foster in the early stages of the race chasing down Johnny Garness, and of course Clayton Edmonds and Samuel Munson battling out for 4th and 5th all through the race there, through the fast corners. And of course was Samuel Munson nodding his head to come across the first line. Edmonds looked up the laps in a row but not quite making it stick. It's kicking it up the inside in turn 2, didn't quite do it just yet. So the riders trying to find out the best way around the circuit, trying to make a move wherever they could. Once again, Edmonds up the inside into turn number 1, didn't quite make it stick over the bumps, but coming across the line it was Foster and Garness at the start of the final lap. Foster round the outside of Garness, taking the lead of the race for the first time in that session, and it was Garness not letting it stick as he made a move back up the inside into turn number 4. We'd done it yesterday, ran a little bit wide, but Foster once again was holding on, coming across Garness just hold off Mason Foster for another race win in the LC40 Elite category, and shaking his fist LC40 Elite race number 2, they will be back out a little bit later on in the day at 4:05 for race number 3. But we've got a final race of this morning's action just before lunchtime, and it's going to be the senior mini motos, and another great battle for them, between them and the categories.
Round 4 of the 2019 Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bike Championships. It's the final race before lunch and the final race of the second block of races for the senior mini motos. Yesterday's action was intense, was very fast paced as well, and it's certainly going to be a corker. But thank you for joining us. Live coverage at the Tattershall circuit in Lincolnshire, and as the senior mini motos just get the final preparations out onto the circuit, let's catch up with the grid with Liam Hodgins.
So Will Howarth will be leading off pole position once again on bike number 96. Bernie Hook will be in second spot. Yesterday's race 1 winner and your championship leader, ahead of championship rival Matt Birkin. There's 9 points separating them in the championship. On bike number 5, Josh Birkin. On bike number 4 will be going off 4th spot on the grid. Andy Whedon and bike number 7 will be in 5th spot on row number 3. Simon Huntingford is next up. Craig Ashall on bike 81 ahead of Nick Bennett 711, and Adam Ambrose on bike 21. Aston Dean on bike 137 with a Valentino Rossi helmet from 1997 and 10th spot on the grid. And of course Ross Michael on bike number 79 will be rounding out your runners and riders for the start of the senior mini moto race number 2 from round 4 here at Tattershall.
Riders are looking towards the grid, the race getting underway in just a moment's time. And as they look now towards the green flag, it's not when it goes up, it's when it goes down. The revs build, but we are underway. A good start from Will Howarth from the front of the grid, getting into for the first time. Everyone making it through turn 1 cleanly. That was very good. Well done, everyone. We've got 9 laps to go, so plenty of action still to come. Will Howarth leads. Second place, Benny Hook made a good start. And it's certainly a battle for the top 2 already heading into turn number 4. The first of the hairpins, Matt Birkin, getting well and truly involved in this as well. Matt certainly had a good race in yesterday's encounter, and will be looking to make further progress in the races as it comes. Sun is beating down on them though, so conditions much more favourable to what they were yesterday, which when they race in the slightly warmer temperatures, they are more used to this, so the bikes will feel a bit more reactive than perhaps when they did it in warm-up this morning. But over the line for the first time, Will Howarth is your race leader. Second place, it looks to be Bernie Hook. Well, everyone else just streaming through.
Yes, absolutely. He said that the heat was quite soaring yesterday. Well, it's actually warmed up quite a lot here in the commentary box, so as you can see the sun has come out, and of course it is Will Howarth leading Bernie Hook for the time being. Matt Birkin is pulling off at the edge of the circuit. Matt Birkin has a bike issue and he's pulled off at turn number 5. The rider checks his bike, turns it back round, and it looks like Matt Birkin, who was your championship leader earlier on in the season, is out of this race. So this has left Bernie Hook and Will Howarth at the top of the pack, and as we see them coming through the fast turn right-hander to end this lap, it looks like Howarth has extended his lead at the top of the field, and of course looking back down towards the bottom end. And third spot, holding off Andy Whedon and Adam Ambrose, has made a great start at the early stages of this race. Nick Bennett in 6th, Ross Michael in 7th, Simon Huntingford in 8th position, Ashton Dean up from 10th into 9th ahead of Craig Ashall, with Matt Birkin pulling off out of this race.
It's a shame for Matt Birkin. He'll get another chance to get some more points later on today. In fact, heading into turn number 4 now is the battle you've just mentioned between Andy Whedon and Adam Ambrose and Josh Birkin. They're all extremely close together through turn number 7. The second left-handed hairpin looking up the inside, couldn't quite make it work. He has though Adam has managed to replace the cardboard cutouts. In fact, there's 2 of them now running with cardboard cutouts on the front of their bikes. So the one identifier we could use yesterday, we now no longer can use, as they're so different. But Andy Whedon is currently sitting in 4th place, challenging for 3rd place side by side up on Ryder's right hand side, the inside for turn number 1, to no avail though. Will Howarth is 3/10 ahead of Bernie Hook. Bernie Hook with the fastest lap on that last lap, but Josh Birkin just holding on to the third place Andy Whedon couldn't quite make it through, but he has in fact made it through into turn number 3. So Andy Whedon up into the third, fourth for Josh Berkey now. Adam Ambrose watching this and probably smiling, thinking I'll be able to do something like that in just a few moments as well. 7 laps to go, so there's still quite some distance in this race. Also a good battle going on between it looked to be like Ross Michael and Craig Ashall a bit further down. Race leaders though, over the line, 0.3 of a second was the gap. Bernie Hook still in second place. Your race leader is still, for now, Will Howard, coming down towards the timing line though. Third place is Andy Whedon, but it's side by side for fourth. Josh Birkin and Adam Ambrose. Adam is certainly looking forward to making a move there, Liam.
Yeah, it is indeed, but so is Bernie Hook, who's looking to make a move on Will Howarth. As he came out of the turn 1 hairpin, it was right on the back of the rival Will Howarth there.
Oh, and he's down. Down has gone. Josh Birkin down at turn number 3. He lost the front end. He's got back up and continuing on, but it certainly lost a lot of time there by a big mistake.
Oh, that's such a shame for Josh Birkin. That is his second crash of the weekend from both races there, but thankfully he's up and okay and back in the race. But look at Bernie Hook into turn number 1. Will he make a move on your race leader Will Howarth? Not doing it just yet. Will takes of lane into turn number 1. In the race situation with 4.5 laps remaining of the senior mini moto race here from Tattershall in Lincolnshire. So third spot has now been opened up, blown wide open from that crash from Josh Birkin. Andy Whedon now leads it in third spot on bike number 7 ahead of Adam Ambrose. Josh Birkin only lost 1 position in that crash. He's only in 5th spot. He was in 4th but is now in 5th. Simon Huntingford is in 6th. Nick Bennett in 7th, Craig Ashall 8th, Aston Dean in 9th, and Ross Michael rounding out your runners and riders for the moment. But is there a move between your leaders through turn 10 across the start first line now to turn number 1? Up the inside he goes, late on the brakes. Will he make a move on Howarth? Yes, he will. Up in the first spot. Hook now leads the way.
But he just, though, getting a very good run out of the second corner. Will Howard has got a lot of experience on these bikes. Tries to come back on the inside at turn number 3. The first of the right-handers into the infield section. It's generally where Will's got a lot of strength. It's Bernie Hook who's got a very good capability in the straight line. Will Howard, through the technical, the twisty stuff, he just manages to be able to keep it side by side. Can't keep it going for now. So as they make their way through, we've got another rider who's gone down. I can't see who that is. They're now standing up and walking away, but I can't see.
Aston Dean, unfortunately.
Aston Dean is the rider which has just retired from this race. Over the line again. 3 laps to go now. It's a reverse situation of a lap ago. Will Howard looking up the inside to turn number 1. Hasn't got the momentum though to keep it through. Bernie Hook just able to grab the brakes and keep the position. Howarth though, the number 96 rider again coming back, again through the quick stuff. Will has just got that more speed and the capability to catch up, and now Bernie's in front. He can defend, he has got the ability to defend quite well, and it's got to wait a little while, but we'll wait and see.
Yes, absolutely, we'll wait and see, but it looks like Bernie Hook is very quick through this midfield section. As I say that, it looked like Howarth was about to look up the inside into turn number 8 as they go into 9. So there's 2 and a bit laps remaining of the senior mini moto race number 2 from Tattershall. Once again, come across the finish line to start another lap. 2 laps to go. Will Howarth make the move? Yes, he no, he won't. He won't make a move into first spot there and to past Bernie Hook. So Bernie Hook still leads the way past Howarth, but once again through the fast turn left into right hand off turn number 3. Will Howarth looks up the inside. He's just practicing for the final lap.
Well, you broke your wordplay slightly there, I'm afraid, but he is certainly sizing him up. There is another opportunity. He's waiting. He's just waiting patiently, gauging the right moment to attack. Andy Whedon still 3rd. 4th is Adam Ambrose. 5th is Simon Huntingford. Josh Birkin is just ahead of Nick Bennett as they make their way down towards turn number 1. But this is it. They've got a few riders in front of them, so this could be everything. They head onto the final lap now, over the line to start the final lap. They've got a handful of riders right in front of them. They've got to negotiate. Bernie Hook will have to get into them first and is getting held up right at the apex at turn number 1. Will Howarth sits and watches with a massive smile into turn number 2. He's got so much more speed heading into turn 3. They're side by side. Can he let the brakes off? No, he can't. He goes a bit deep into turn number 3. just the hairpins and the final section of the to go. The final lap, half a lap to go. Bernie Hook goes wide, manages to get past the traffic, but right up on the inside, Will Howard's going to go forward. He can't do it at turn number 7 either.
Will Howarth is looking every way to find a way past Hook. Will he make it into turn number 9 late on the brakes? Hook has got it covered with him, moving under braking, losing the front ever so slightly, but he still holds it. Will Howarth make a move on the final lap? Coming across the finish line is Hook. It's Howarth. It's Hook who just takes the race win by 0.04 of a second from Will Howarth on bike number 96. Great race action from those two there. Looking further down the field, we're waiting for Andy Whedon, who was a few seconds further back on your top 3. So it looks like Andy Whedon is coming through the final couple of corners for the moment. Andy Whedon on bike number 7 has consolidated that podium spot over the last few laps. So Andy Whedon comes through the final corner at the moment, will be picking up that podium spot in bike number 7. Over the line he comes as Andy Whedon in 3rd, and Adam Ambrose will be next up on one of the cardboard cutout boxes. And of course it's going to be Josh Birkin over the line. Will he be holding off Nick Bennett? Yes, he does. Josh Birkin just holds off 6th spot after a crash earlier on in the race. So a great recovery from Josh Birkin, and Nick Bennett is in 7th. So once again, Bernie Hook is your race winner from the senior mini motos, ahead of Will Howarth. Andy Whedon in 3rd spot. Adam Ambrose was next up, ahead of Simon Huntingford. Josh Birkin was in 6th, Nick Bennett in 7th, Craig Ashall in 8th, Ross Michael in 9th, and Aston Dean and Matt Birkin were your only 2 non-finishers from the senior mini moto race number 2.
Well, a shame for a couple of non-finishers, but a great end to the second set of races here this weekend at Tattershall. Live coverage of round 4 of the 2019 Cool FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championships. Well, it's been a great second set of action. We've got one final set of races to come later on this afternoon. We'll be back underway at around 2 o'clock. So thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you for all of your comments. It's been great to see who you're supporting all weekend, and we'll see you very shortly.
Cool FAB-Racing, the official